Can you win a championship with only one-star recruits? That's the challenge in today's rebuild, and I'll be taking over Air Force for this one. I can only bring in one-star prospects, and I'll be doing this until we win a national championship or inevitably fail the challenge. It might not be possible, but I made my head coach a motivator so we're able to develop our players the best, because in 2 years, pretty much everybody on this roster is going to graduate. Air Force is also rated as the lowest overall team in the Mountain West, even though they've been pretty good recently, and recruiting at a military school is going to be a challenge within itself. As you can see, there's a ton of one-star prospects that don't want to come to this school because of it, and it might be better for us in the long run to go down the recruiter skill tree just so I can scout these guys a bit quicker. I mean, it's not taken me long to realize that some of these wide receivers are atrocious, but I only have 500 hours to spend and it's starting to go by super quick. After scouting 6 players, I found 2 gems that I really want to get, but for the rest of these guys, especially the ones we're in first place on, I'm just going to offer a scholarship. Insta-commit is a thing, so maybe it'll pop up like it did right here, and that's how we'd sign our first 4 players in this class, like quarterback Chuck Vines, but I have no clue what his stats are. Just looking at our roster, we have 30 seniors and 31 juniors, so we're going to need to replace all these positions with 2 huge classes. And don't sleep on Air Force, because after getting 4 instant commits, we have the #1 class in the country. That's definitely not going to last, but my first real test is seeing if we have to send the house on these 1-star prospects, or if we can get away with something cheaper since nobody else should be going after them. And it turns out 25 is doing enough, because most of these players have already reached their top 5, and it's even unlocked all of their interest. Don't get it twisted though, teams like Ball State are going to be competing for these 1-stars against us. And whose idea was it to put us at #1 Georgia for the first game of the rebuild? We're going to stick with the option. I think this is going to give us our best chance, but I really don't want to talk about what's happened in this game. We've had a couple of big runs like this one from Harris, which helped us put up 21 points, but besides that, we couldn't get a stop and Georgia just destroyed us. It's hard to imagine things get any better from here either, as we're going after 1-stars and Ball State stole a prospect from us. This is actually insane. We are competing head-to-head with Sam Houston for a 1-star. We might have to schedule him for a visit. And since this rebuild is going to be super challenging, I do have the coach XP speed set to normal. Since we already signed some prospects, we have 45 to spend, but I think I actually want to open up the recruiter skill tree, because if we go down this route, we can unlock tier 1 for every type of position, and that'll allow us to scout players a lot quicker. I think it's important to know what type of dev trait these guys have before we go hard after them, because that determines how fast they're going to progress, and maybe we'll bounce back at home against San Jose State. I mean, Joey B is committed. We signed our first 1-star of many, and he's also a gem. So we're already making progress in recruiting with 7 commits. We lost by 8 points though, so even our current roster with better than 1-stars can't win games, and it's not going to get any better for us at Baylor. At least I did scout one of these receivers, so I can talk about Ben Castro's 87 speed. That's probably the best we're going to get with a 1-star, and after the Bears beat us 34-3, I'm looking at the rest of our schedule, wondering when we're going to win something. There's really nothing to be excited about. This guy is not going to turn around our program, and it's not an exaggeration when I say that the commits are literally just flooding in. Now that I've established I can get pretty much anybody I want, I mean, I've signed 14 prospects already, I'm going to start scouting every player before we go after them, because we can't sign 35 1-stars every year unless they're at least a gem. Some of these stats are just so bad. On a cornerback, this kid has 77 speed with 55 zone coverage, and I wish more than 3 1-star athletes were interested in coming to Air Force. I feel like Bernard Silver could be our one chance at having a good quarterback as an athlete. These are stats on a 1-star, and there might be a few prospects every year that are going to really help us out, because looking at these stats on a wide receiver, 88 speed's pretty good too. I need to save room for the transfer portal as well though, and just looking at this matchup, we might get our first win. So I have to play the rivalry. I want to take that trophy home. We've already lost another game, as last week against Wyoming, they took us down. So I'm thrilled that approaching halftime, we have a 10-7 lead, but we're looking to extend on it, and I don't even have to pitch it on the speed option. I needed a better block though. Air Force's playbook also has a lot of passes in it. I didn't realize they threw the ball as much as they do, but we're still trying to keep it traditional, while the coach suggestions just want us to sling the rock. We're trying to end the first half the right way though, and with this option play, that pitch could have been good. We're also going to go down at the 1. So it is time to get our fullback involved, and he is going to be short. We're not about to get held as time expires in the first half. Let's get that touchdown. And this is what I'm hoping for using Air Force. Our lead might be getting blown though. I mean, they've been moving it down the field until we forced a fumble, but they'd get it back with a couple of minutes left, so I'm not sure it's going to matter. We know that they're running the option. The question is, can we stop it? And here on 3rd down, this was a screenplay of some sort that we're just not going to hold them on. They stepped out before it was time for them to get into the end zone though, and I really want to make them regret that decision. We have to get a turnover. Well, this is going to be challenging to move it down the field with limited time left on the clock, but we might be able to figure it out. A little bit of a fake pass here, and they are all in. I'm a little worried Air Force isn't going to pick up their first win in this game now that we've blown it. And on 4th and 10, we might might have them beat deep if that safety doesn't get back to it, which they don't. Hang on, Rosnos goes all the way. Never mind, I accidentally jumped out at the 1, but it's fine. We're still about to take it in, and that's actually super helpful. I wanted to run more time off of the clock before we'd get a touchdown, and that's how we'd win the first game of this rebuild over Navy. The rivalry trophy is going to stay here at Air Force. I'm hoping there's a clip of that comes up, but there wasn't, even though I know I saw it in a trailer at some point. By week 7, we've brought in 20 commits, and I'm going to go after 27 in the regular season because I want to save our last 8 scholarships for some transfers. That means we're probably just going to sim until the end of the regular season because by week 10, it's not looking any better. We're sitting at 1-6. We're currently the worst team in the Mountain West Conference, but I do have some good news as we've signed Bernard Silver, and remember, he is the only 1-star I found with some amazing stats. To end the year, we lost to our rivals Army, but we showed that Oregon State's really fallen off. I just feel bad for them at this point, and I really wasn't expecting us to be the worst team in the Mountain West. These 1-star recruits aren't going to save us either. Our class rank continues to fall, but Old Dominion has the same type of class as we do, and I don't think there's anything in these season stats I want to see, but I feel like we threw the ball a lot more than we should have. Like using Air Force in the triple option, you'd expect us to have some rushers with a lot more yards than this, but instead our leading players ended up being our quarterbacks and wide receivers in the passing game, and that's made a couple of our players consider transferring. I'm not sure if they can do that though. I feel like once you're locked into a military school, you have to stay there. And Jalen Milroe won the Heisman, but those are not great stats. Early national signing day is here though, so we can start to look through these 1-star recruits and see what their development trait is in the bottom right corner. And what I did was group all 6 of the impact development trait players together because I want to make sure I remember their names. We didn't have anything higher than that though. That really stinks for guys like Bernard Silver, but he's still going to be our starting quarterback, and there was a lot of red in the playoffs. Unfortunately, since our coach prestige did drop, it looks like 12 more guys might consider leaving, and that's a lot of juniors that might have started for us next season, so the 1-stars could be getting on the field already. I told you all, we were about to lose a lot of our starting lineup to graduation as well. It's dropped us down to a 71 overall, but from what I've seen, overalls are bugged out anyway, and I have to find out if there's any 1-star transfers that are going to consider our school or not. There's only 3 of them, and they're all wide receivers, but we could move some of them to running back, and I guess going forward, we'll know to only save a few spots for 1-star transfers. I will say, just looking at their stats and their speed, it is superior to any 1-star we've gotten though, so the fact that we lost one to Eastern Michigan's driving me crazy. We're having to actually compete for all these players, and I decided if we have the extra scholarships, we might as well add some more players to this roster. The big signing though is this 1-star Eric Reddick, and then the other wide receiver because again, they're pretty quick, but it's also nice that we got some of these other guys because you never know when one of them's going to have impact dev, and they're all not good. Next year, I'm going to be a lot more picky about the guys we go after. We signed the worst class in the country, and all of their overalls seem to hover around the 53-54 range. How on earth am I going to win a championship with these kids? The only bright spot was of course Bernard Silver, and he has a deal breaker already, so even though we're going to make him our QB, there's a decent chance he doesn't stick around because our coach prestige isn't high enough. What I'm excited about though is because we have so many senior running backs and then freshmen that aren't great, we have this transfer, Eric Reddick, like I said, who is 90 speed, so I wanted to see what his overall at halfback was, and he goes up by 7. Weird stuff like that's our only chance at a championship, and even though our team overall is up to a 71, most of these guys are seniors. We're about to lose them all. So I'm very thankful for this quarterback, Quentin Hayes, because he's a junior and he jumped up to a 78. I completely forgot to put coach points into the motivator skill tree as well. I have 110 to spend. This is why I don't leave it on normal, because one season in now, we have tier 3 of all of these, but if we're going to only go after 1-stars, we need all the help that we can get. At least transfer don't seem to be as big of a deal at the moment, but what I am going to do is encourage some players to transfer that won't ever see the field for us. With 28 seniors this time around, team needs are through the roof again. It actually says that we have 39 of them. I mean, we have to replace our entire defense, and it's a shame that there's a lot of 1-stars that still won't even consider our school. I mean, our school grades aren't the best, and not everybody wants to join the military, but we need all the help that we can get because I don't want to finish at the bottom of the Mountain West again. I think at least for this season, I am going to redshirt some players manually, like Bernard Silver, just because I'd like to have them around for the long run if they don't transfer. And when putting together my board, I'll look for 1-star athletes like him because he has 93 throw power, some good accuracies, just not that much room for improvement. Now, unfortunately, one thing I have found out as I'm trying to recruit 1-stars at certain positions is there's a lot of players that I just can't go after. And it's because all these 1-stars start at the top 8 stage, but that means at least for athletes, there's only one this time, and it's Jaquez Hepburn. He wasn't anything special. 58 route running as a wide receiver isn't going to do anything for me, but we did find one gym, and then I found a bust as well. Can you imagine being a 1-star bust as a recruit? It doesn't get more embarrassing than that, but because this board is pretty much all the 1-stars I can go after, maybe scouting isn't as important as I thought it would be. I think what's actually going to matter is our team overall and how players progress, so we're going to have to go down this tactician pathway too. And I might as well put Georgia on the schedule every single season until we beat them. When it comes to choosing which prospects to put points on, I think the smartest thing I can do is put points on players that other schools are going after, because I want to compete for them, especially since I can only go after one defensive tackle. It shouldn't be any surprise that we lost to Georgia either, but we lost by less points this year than last season. And then San Diego State beat us by 6 points, but I feel like we're improving. Quentin Hayes is throwing the ball a lot more than I want him to. 16 attempts. I might have to switch up the playbook to where we're running even more. And I think Navy's has the least amount of passing plays. To keep things interesting though, with recruiting, I brought in the one player that was a bust. And I hate to see that we've actually lost a couple battles. Considering by week 3 we've signed like 8 players, we're doing just fine, but there is the occasional one that goes to another school. So again, my strategy's just been going after the players that other schools have wanted, where we've pulled away on a lot of them, and then I'm gonna leave these players that were first on their board until the end of the season. We're about to start the year 0-3 though, so things aren't going well. And there it is, 28-14, so I don't think we're winning this one against Navy this year, but we'll play the one at Army. I mean, there could be a little bit of hope in the Mountain West Conference as well, and it's hard for me to get very invested in any of these 1-stars. We're signing a lot of them every week, but most of their stats are really rough. 56 man coverage is going to be terrible, and then I found this safety with 85 speed, so I guess that's a positive. Some of these battles though are coming down to the wire, especially this one for a right guard. And every time we fail in to bring a 1-star, it is so disappointing. With only 26 targets, I have to search for more players to add to the board too, but they're so hard to come by. And this is literally it. There's only 9 other players that would even consider coming to our school. I don't know if that's because they're 1-star recruits or if it's a military thing. I'd have to try it at another program. And surprisingly, by the time we've reached this game against Army, we're sitting at 3-4. We beat Utah State before losing to Navy, then Nevada by 3 and New Mexico by 8. So at the moment, we're sitting at number 2 in our conference. This game wouldn't even affect that, but our rivals are 1-6, so we have to take on Army. This is our chance to improve to 4-4 on the year. First play of the game, you know that we're just going to come out trying to pound the rock. But by how slow that everybody's moving, I think you can see that this might be a little bit of a struggle. To my surprise though, it really hasn't been much of an issue. We've moved it down the field pretty well. And as time winds down in this first half, we have a chance to take a 3-possession lead with that ball being caught. I find it really hard in these positions to make the right read, but we did. And I think we're about to get another win over one of our rivals. I've decided for sure that Navy's playbook was the right move as well, because all those running plays just made it easier to control the clock and get the win. I know this doesn't mean as much as the Army-Navy series does, but I'm very happy with how this all went, and it's led to some 1-stars committing. As we get better, we just keep bringing in more and more, while less players want to transfer out, which is a really good thing. By now, there's only 3 players left on our board. We're going to go after 29 prospects. I didn't like the other ones that I added, but again, it's because I'm very limited with who I can target, and even some of these 2-stars would be so nice to go after. I'm not breaking the rules though. Our goal with this video is to see if it's possible to build a championship contending team with 1-star recruits only, and I want to let Sim take over the rest of the year. The reason for that is because we have so many high overall seniors. I feel like if we won with this team without all the 1-stars, it would be illegitimate, but the Mountain West humbled us really quick anyway. We fell to 5-6. Winning this last game at Wyoming would mean that we'd make a bowl though, and they're 3-8, but they're also an 81 overall. Who knows what's going to happen there? All I know is I'm disappointed that this quarterback would rather go to Eastern Michigan, but he probably wasn't a good fit anyway with his 70 speed. Wyoming beat us 17-23, so that means we're not going to make a bowl. And even in Navy's playbook, we still threw the ball quite a bit with some of these stats. The rushing yards at least went up a bit with our 87 overall fullback leading the way, and I was so close to wanting to fire some of our coordinators, but their prestige has raised a bit. I'll still probably do so though, because I don't feel like their points are distributed very well, and we're going to go after some better motivators so our players improve as much as possible. I need us to develop a 1-star quarterback into a Gunnar Stockton, and here on early national signing day, I'm excited to see what development traits these guys have. Obviously the gyms are at least an impact, and this time around the only other player that was also an impact dev was another guard. We only found 2. We're in some deep trouble. One of these coordinators better be really good, not this guy. And I somehow missed this offensive coordinator that would boost both of our motivator stuff and tactician. This is the perfect fit. He even runs the option. For our defensive coordinator, I think we found what we want as well, because this guy has that same kind of build, and no other schools offered either of them, so we got both of them to come to Air Force. It's gonna hurt our coach stability in the short term, but I can't stress enough how important that is, and I feel like Kansas State always does really well in these dynasties. When it comes to players transferring out, we are losing 3 dudes, but I'm not upset about any of them, and by now pretty much all of the juniors and seniors on on this roster that were good have graduated, so from here on out, we're using almost all 1-stars. Those original players helped us a little bit though. We put on a fullback, Dylan Carson, to the NFL. And because we've only signed 28 players, we have room for 7 transfers, but there's very limited 1-star prospects and none of them want to come to our school. We've actually hit rock bottom with this team. Our guys are only going to get worse from here on out. We're a 60 overall. And even though all of our coordinators are good motivators, I'm not sure how much that's going to carry over to good progression. You have to remember that most of these 1-stars have normal dev and they also have a lot of ratings blocks. I'm not sure how good we can make this team, but if we have to change up this scheme in order to win, that's something that I'd be willing to consider. As for now though, we have to move over this 49 overall freshman athlete. He's not looking good for us, but at least we got a defensive tackle. We needed that. And I'm going to play around with moving some of these guys to other positions just to see what we can get out of them, but it's never great. We're going to need some really big jumps during player progression. And we might have gotten it up to a 69 overall, but we have some really important players that want to transfer. We really need Bernard Silver to stick around, and there was one big jump out of a freshman we recruited. It was Sammy Fink. He is a normal dev, but he's up to an 81, and he still hasn't met all of his skill caps, so that lets me know that 1-stars can get up to about an 83, 84 overall. Most of them are probably going to float around this 65 to 69 overall range though, because guys like Devin that we also recruited last year as a 1-star only have so much room to grow. The speeds are also going to hold us back a ton. An 81 speed corner can't play defense, so I think our next big step in this rebuild will be unlocking this tactician tree. I have 65 coach points saved up, and we're just going to put it into as many things as we can, which is going to take a while, but eventually we're going to fill up this entire section. That's our only hope, and I should probably encourage players to transfer out that are never going to see the field for us. Playing time could be something that causes a lot of these 1-stars to lock us out from recruiting them, and my biggest hope is we find some more athletes in here where this time we have a lot more that we can go after. One of them's a quarterback, and I feel like he's still going to be pretty solid. Those stats are nothing like the first one we got, and I'm still going to have a fun time putting together this class. When it comes to our roster, with all the boosts that I've just applied, our quarterback room doesn't look terrible. Bernard Silver's a 76, but we have to win games or else our coach prestige is going to continue to stay low and he's going to transfer out. Some of the other positions like running back have gotten Eric Reddick up to a 77, but then on our defensive line where these players haven't had a year to improve and we don't have boost, it just looks terrible. Red shirts are definitely going to be used on guys like Joshua Johnson just in case Bernard Silver does transfer out, and I kind of want junior wide receiver Lane McNeil to stick around for a while as well because he has 94 speed. I'm very interested to see how this all goes moving forward just because we are a 69 overall and the rest of our conference is much higher than that. But after making one adjustment to our schedule, putting number 1 Georgia on there, we're ready to start the year. We've run into an issue with this rebuild though, and that's the fact that after recording all morning, I'm starving, which is why I'm thrilled to say DoorDash has sponsored today's video. I want to keep filming, but I also really want something to eat, so I'm pulling up my favorite food delivery app to place an order. I think it's incredible that we live in a world where you can get anything that you need right to your door, and if you want it, DoorDash can deliver it. There's so many options to choose between, but I'll eat about anything right now. And I love using this map feature to select restaurants closer to me. Once I ran across some barbecue though, I knew what I had to get. And as you can see, my order's submitting right now. Now I can see that it'll be here shortly, but in the meantime, DoorDash also has a grocery section and then a retail section too, so they really have it all. I really appreciate the updates that you get with your order as well. And once my food got here, I dove right in. You really can't go wrong with sweet corn casserole, and DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app right now to get almost anything delivered, and use code BOARD50 to get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. Now you don't have to get up if you want to eat while continuing to play college football 25, and it's time to get back to this 1-star only rebuild. Well, it's been a couple days since I've been on this file, but I'm still trying to complete this challenge. I was able to find only one gym at quarterback, and his stats don't fit a military school, but we still really need him. Since I last played on this file, they've put out a huge patch, so we're about to dive in and see what's fixed and what's broken. With just 400 recruiting hours to spend, this year I'm only going after 8 players at a time, and if I'm remembering right, we have a really young roster because we have 54 freshmen on here. We should be fine, we just need some of them to develop, and until they do, we're going to get blown out by teams like Georgia. Now I am in an interesting position because we should be starting quarterback Quentin Hayes, but then there's Bernard Silver. He already wants to transfer out. I feel like he might not if we made him the starter, so that's what I've done, and we're going to see if I can take down the Pandas. As I'm filming this, FCS schools have been patched, so they're not as overpowered as they were at launch, but because I started the file before that patch, they're still going to be really good. There's no fix to them right now. That's my excuse for still struggling this much versus them since we've only been able to get 3 points. And I think I'm about done running the option. It's just continuing to go worse for us. We fumbled. Maybe for another video, I can rebuild a military school using only the triple option, but the challenge with 1-stars is already too difficult, so we're probably going to go over to something like the spread. Just looking at some of these pitches in recruiting though, we might be better off sending the house instead of hard selling because our school has almost 0 good grades at the moment. We're in a spot where I really don't know what to do because even if I do sign gyms like Johnny McCoy, I rarely find them. And all of our player improvement stuff's been maxed out between myself and the coordinators. I feel like I just have to fill up this tactician tree as I continue to level up. We're basically just waiting on this roster to improve. With the 54 freshmen, I mean, there are some decent redshirted ones on here. And this season's another one we're probably going to breeze through because we still haven't won a game, but I am going to try to beat Navy. Beating our rivals would definitely help some of our school grades, even if we don't need it. I mean, we're going to get every single 1-star prospect that we want. And I'm trying to scout around a bit just to find some special ones, but they all stink. At least Navy hasn't won a game yet, and we can test out our new playbook. But as we walk out of the tunnel, I can already see it out there on the ground. There's going to be some rain. It's not too heavy, but it might make passing the ball a little bit more difficult. And we also need to get some more wide receivers into this program. We're not used to throwing it as much as we're trying to. Here on 3rd and 17, I have to get us a first down, but nothing deep was open. So I'm just relieved with 4 minutes left. We are only down by 3. We've done a decent job coming back. And if we can get a touchdown on this drive, we would have a lead on Navy. We're going to break that tackle just because it's a bit wet, but there's still plenty of time left in this one, and our running back gets nothing. Bernard Silver on a 3rd and short is going to complete the pass. The scoreboard disappeared, and that's one of the new glitches that have come with this patch, but I'm sure they're going to fix that soon too, and we have a touchdown. We'd also hold them defensively to get the ball back, but they took out my favorite Wildcat play, and I don't think this formation's going to be as effective as it was, but at least we're still getting a first down. This is one of the things that they wanted to nerf. I understand it was really overpowered, but in order to seal our win against Navy, we still have to pick up one more first down, and we're going to be on a 3rd and 8. Game on the line. We have an open tight end. He is going to hold on to the football, and we have gotten our first win of the season against our rivals. This is needed. We're only a 69 overall team, and it lets me know that rebuilding with 1-stars might not be completely impossible. We've unlocked a new coach tree as well. It's called Architect. We're going to see what's in here, and this is actually super useful. If you look at tier 2 for every position, there's a chance to increase a random skill cap when leveling up. We need that more than anything because our 1-stars are really capped off right now. David Tinker, you can see, can't improve in any more of these categories, but if we get that, he could. Now it's just going to be about collecting as many coach points as possible, and I doubt we're going to level up very quickly by signing 1-stars. What I've learned though is these 1-star free safeties are faster than the cornerbacks I can go after, so we're probably going to move Jordan Paulo over to corner. And as the year goes on, I know that we're going to sign about 24 prospects, filling most of our team needs, but if I can find a couple more 1-stars that would help our roster, I'm not going to hold back from going after them. My plan, at least for the games, is just going to be to continue simming because it seems to be working pretty well for us with Bernard Silver winning Player of the Week. If we're in the running for the Mountain West Conference Championship, then I'd take over, but we still have to go at Boise State, which probably won't go well. And this roster still should be a few years away from contending for a conference championship. The updated ranking logic in this patch doesn't help us either because we're not going to be able to make the playoffs unless we probably go undefeated. So Air Force still has a long way to go in this challenge rebuild. Well, we didn't end the year in the best of ways. I didn't think we'd lose 5 straight, but we did. And statistically, throughout the season, Bernard Silver looked really good with these stats. He only threw 3 interceptions. He also rushed for a little bit, which is why I'm surprised we dropped those last 5. And it's nice to know that our best 2 receivers are juniors. They're going to be back next year, but our 3rd best was a running back, Devin Silva. We might need to move his position around if he's playing that well for us. He has a lot of room to improve in the route running categories. And both of my coordinators' prestiges are an F, but I feel like I need to keep them around. This really stinks because if I do, Bernard Silver's probably going to transfer. But they're pretty much a perfect fit with a maxed out motivator tree and also earning some points in tactician too. I'm not firing them even if we finish 10th in the Mountain West Conference, and we're just going to see whether or not Bernard Silver enters the transfer portal. With this patch, we also got a new 12-team playoff bracket. I think it looks pretty cool. Georgia won it all. And I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen a team go 17-0 on College Football 25. It's pretty rare, but it is time for the moment of truth. Please don't have anybody in the transfer portal, and I don't think we do. We definitely lost some decent seniors though, bringing us down to a 66 overall, and I'm just glad that we already have 29 players signed. My hope was to add to it in the transfer portal, but there's only one player that wants to come to our school, and he's a 3-star. So all of these 1-stars either don't want to join the military, don't think they'd be a good fit here, or they think that we're too bad for them. Not getting transfers will probably hurt us in the long run, but somehow we have signed a better recruiting class than Kent State, and they should be embarrassed. Nothing about this one's too exciting. Johnny McCoy's development's only an impact, and he's the only 1-star on this entire recruiting board with impact development or higher besides the these two safeties at the end. That's a little terrifying as a 64 overall team now, but we're going to move players around in position changes, and I feel like our overall should be higher than a 64. There's a new bug with this patch I'm sure they're going to hotfix though, that our new recruits don't show up in position changes, so I can't move any of those guys around. And I know I said I wanted to see what Devin became if I moved him to wide receiver, but he dropped to a 65. The free safety to cornerback pipeline might be very real though. Ben Sermons has 85 speed, which is high for a 1-star corner, and he's going to go up in overall. After that, we'd get to go through player progression, and it's saying we're a 71, but we have multiple 80s on this team, so I feel like we're about a 75, 76 at the moment, and it's a little concerning that most of these 1-star receivers aren't going any higher than a 64 overall. I have 50 coach points now, so I could unlock this architect screen. I'm going to do so, and now I can decide wherever positions are no longer capped as much. I think tight end and wide receiver is going to be the first one. That's not the only spot that they're going to get that boost in though. I'm also going to boost up receiving game all the way. I want these guys to be as good as possible, and as I keep leveling up, I'm either putting points into architect or tactician. It might have taken a while, but by the time I can encourage players to transfer, we can see the overalls of the freshmen that I brought in, and it gets really rough as I go up, as you're going to see there's a 42 overall. I don't know what to think right now, but anybody that's below a 60, I think I have to force them to leave. And with a full roster of players with only 7 seniors graduating and 1 junior, I feel like I shouldn't be going after that many 1-stars. We have very few team needs, so what I might do is scout every single player we're targeting and only go after players that are gyms or look like they might be good. But I will say that position changes glitches, making this an even more impossible challenge, because guys like Dwan Ream, I wouldn't have put at quarterback. He has 88 speed. I would have moved him around to another spot. The patch did far more good than bad though. It fixed a lot. I've been happy with it, and I also noticed that I can start to go after a lot more athletes. It allowed me to put 20 different ones on my board. I will be scouting every single one of these quarterbacks to see if we can find some gyms like Max Bandy. He has 96 throw power and some really good accuracies. In fact, I'd find 4 players like that, including this quarterback Daniel Fink with 95 throw power and then 85 speed too. The athlete running backs were pretty solid too. They're faster than the normal halfback recruits, and then this guy Austin Babcock was a gym with 88 speed. Being able to add pretty much every single athlete to my board has changed a lot for this rebuild, and I'm just hoping that after we get by Georgia, we can start to win some more football games this season. There's still a 91 overall, but at least the game thinks we're a 73 now, and if we don't start winning more, surely those players are going to transfer because of coach prestige. Bernard Silver's been threatening us for years, but we have more quarterbacks coming up that are even better than him, so he's free to go because we're going to sign both of these guys. Our next game is against San Jose State, and I feel like this is very winnable, so I simulated it while Max Bandy committed to Air Force. We'd beat San Jose State by 14 points, so this is going to be a year where we hop into more games, but not against Baylor. We still have to be realistic about the programs that we can take down. I think what's going to be so interesting about this class is I'm only going after these 10 players, and every single one of them are athletes that we're not going to be able to move around to. I'm excited to see how they develop though. Austin Babcock might be the best player that we found outside of a QB, at least until I find guys like James, who's a strong safety with 86 speed, and I could play him almost anywhere. I also found a cornerback with 86 speed, so we're starting to get some faster 1-stars in this list, and I can't stress enough how important that is, because just looking at our current cornerback speed, they're going to get toasted by anybody that's on a Power 4 team. Evidently not in Sim though, because we upset Baylor and then we also beat our rivals Navy. This Baylor result's really thrown me off. We only won by 1 point, but it was Bernard Silver's 2 turnovers that kept it close. And before we hit a big chunk of our Mountain West games, we're actually sitting on top of the conference. See, now I have a really good reason to jump into some of these matchups, so that's what we're going to do on the road when we head to Utah State. And I'm super excited. This roster is not playing like a 73 overall at the moment. We have in this first half against the Aggies though, because as you can see, we just haven't gotten any points. And their defense has literally been locking us down. I want to at least get 7 before the half. We're getting a little bit closer, but it has been a struggle to do so, and I'm about to step up and try to scramble into the end zone, which worked. I knew that things could get really hard once we had to go on the road, but we got an interception with a second left in the half, so if we hit this field goal, it's going to be 21-10. At the moment, it's looking like a comeback's actually going to happen. This guy is the transfer that transferred in at wide receiver, and Eric Reddick's normally good, even though we moved him to running back, but he didn't come away with it there, and he makes this catch. That is what you want to see on a huge third down, but they would score after that, which means on this drive, we're down by 12 points, and we're going to need a miracle like that was. The problem, though, is ever since that moment, we haven't finished off the drive and punched it in until this jet touch pass worked, and that's giving us some life, but we have to get a defensive stop. They have our defense all spread out as they're going to hand this football football off. And here on 3rd and 5, I'm assuming that they're going to pass the ball, but they ran it up the middle instead. We're getting it back with 2 minutes left, and the pressure is on for us to drive down the field in this time frame and get some points. But we're already getting faced with a 3rd and 17, and it's another bad throw. We're going to need enough time here to get this off without the scoreboard. I didn't know how much time was left though, and our running back should beat that guy deep. He makes the catch, so that's why you convert a wide receiver, put him at halfback, and now we've dusted them. The throw is on the money, but if it wasn't underthrown, we would have scored a touchdown there. We still have to get a little bit more. I've been letting the clock run down a bit just in case we do get in. With this RPO, we're going to be on 4th and inches though, and now the pressure is really on. We don't know how much time's left. We're just going to hike the ball, and the inside zone worked for the 1. I could have sworn we were already in the end zone there. We've got to get going quick. Come on, hike the ball. 10 seconds left. There it is. That is going to get us the huge win over Utah State on the road. And what a clutch drive from Bernard Silver and the rest of our team. Even if we're just a 1-star school, our championship contender is rising. And Eric Reddick has been the best transfer that we could have gotten so far. Just looking at the conference standings though, Nevada, Wyoming, and Boise State could all give us problems. So whenever we run into those teams, we're going to play them instead of Simmons. As for recruiting, so far we've gotten every single guy that we wanted. Not a single player's even been interested in going to another college. And I still can't believe it's possible to find 1-star busts. That's as bad as it gets. Unfortunately, we would lose at San Diego State by 1 point. So that's going to drop us to 4-2, even though Bernard Silver played really well. We aren't out of the hunt for a Mountain West Conference championship though. And right now we're going on the road at the number 1 team. This is a really important moment in this rebuild. If we're able to take them down on the road, that'd be huge. And so far we have a lead, but they've also been working it down the field where they're going to pick up this 3rd and long. They'd go on to score a touchdown and then another one after that, making it 17-7. And we just have to end this first half getting some points, as Bernard Silver's going to break 1 tackle and make a couple guys miss. That is exactly what you want to see, and I'm not sure what this alignment is right there. I think we're going to have knocks if I just throw this immediately. I don't know what they're doing, but we're going to take this down to the end zone. We have been known for making comebacks, but we have to do stuff like picking up this 4th and 17, which wasn't caught. They'd score another touchdown after that, putting us in a bad position where we didn't get the 4th and inches. That is very frustrating to say the least. I don't think we have a chance, but we haven't given up yet. We've still been flying down the field, and we'll take it. On 3rd and 2, it's cover 2, but I think I saw it a second too late, and I am going for the 2-point conversion here. I want to win this game without having to go to overtime, where we're going to scramble and get it. Now we just have to get them off the field, and I switch-sticked over there, but not quick enough. So I'm afraid that they're going to be able to run out most of the clock. We can run commit all we want, but we have 0 timeouts remaining. And it would be a miracle if they went with a pass on 3rd down, but they handed it off instead. I can't believe it, but they're attempting a field goal with 30 seconds left. I did not want to get warped into roughing the kicker animation, but I probably could have blocked it. I had a chance. It gave me the button to hit right there. I could have changed this game's outcome. And instead, now we're just hoping to make a bowl game instead of our conference championship. Now, this next matchup's considered a rivalry, and I don't know why, because there's only one thing that reminds me of a connection between Air Force and Hawaii. So I've learned something new about college football, and I'm going after a couple prospects on our board that aren't athletes. Like the rest of them, if I decide I want them, we're gonna get them. And we've now landed 17 different prospects. We've also found ourselves going into week 13 sitting at 5-6 because we've lost a lot of matchups, but we beat Army 7-5, and that's crazy. Anyway, whether or not we take down Wyoming is the difference between us making a bowl or missing one, and I'd love for us to, considering that we're sitting at number 11 in our conference. We've got nothing left to do in recruiting until the transfer portal, so all we have is playing games. And this intro looks really sick. I've always wondered why they touched that statue. Nothing better than just a bunch of dudes rubbing up on another dude for good luck. With the jet touch pass, we're going to get the first touchdown of the day. And we're also looking to end this first half the right way, as if we can get in with this halfback screen, we'd be up by 10. We're so close. We just have to punch it in now, which we don't. And I think it's time that we bring out quarterback sneak. There's actually no way we don't get this again. I have to run it back on 4th and goal. Come on. And I knew Bernard Silver was small, but he looked really tiny in that clip. It's like we got our own little Kyler Murray here at Air Force, though, taking sack after sack. And with a few minutes left, we're up by 5, but the pressure's definitely on. With a missed throw, they want us to punt him the ball, but we're on the 34-yard line, so I think it makes more sense for us to go for it, and that was the worst route I've ever seen a tight end run. run. Luckily, in the end, they'd throw an interception. We'd still come out on top. And I saw none of it because I accidentally simmed, but it helped us. We've made it to a bowl game with Air Force against Cincinnati, so it might be winnable. And that would be a huge step for the program. We've averaged 19 points per game. Our offense definitely needs to take a step forward. It's early National Signing Day too, so I'm super excited to see the dev traits of all these players. I'm already noticing an impact. And then we had 3 in a row with some of these athletes, including Austin Babcock. We knew that one was a given. This guy's also a gem. But unfortunately, none of our options at quarterback also had impact. If Bernard Silver doesn't transfer, we might be better off just rolling with him, even if the turnover number did come up. And I'll be interested to see how he does without being able to lean on senior running back Eric Reddick. He's also losing a couple wide receivers that were seniors he loved to feed it to, but our best one was junior Leon McNeil. And I'm ready to try to win our first bowl game with Air Force. This should be manageable if we were able to take down Baylor, who's also in the Big 12. But we also have to realize that they are going to be better than us, and where on earth is the scoreboard at? It never showed up. I can almost guarantee that by the time this video's out, that bug's going to be fixed. I don't see them leaving it in the game for very long, but it's definitely confusing me for the time being. I'm wondering if we're able to toast them deep. That throw isn't going to be good enough. And stuff like that is how I'm shocked that this team of 1-stars can even compete. They really struggle sometimes. I mean, we're almost at the end of the first half, and we still haven't scored, even though we've been trying our hardest to. And this might be a really bad idea to go for it on 4th and inches, but I wanted to get more than just a field goal. Now we need a good pass down on the goal line, or I can step up and run in with Bernard Silver, putting a little bit of pressure on Cincinnati right now. This has been such an odd game. We even took a safety, but we're about to get a touchdown or an interception. Never mind. Neither of us seem to be able to score very much, but now we're giving up a laser up the middle, and they're fighting their way into the end zone. It all went downhill from there, only because Bernard Silver can't make a deep pass to save his life. He can only check it down. And you know what? I might actually be ready to replace him after the season. Even though it says he has 96 throw power, he plays like he has a noodle arm, and I'm just gonna hope for a miracle right here. We literally have to score in like 3 seconds, but we drop it again. So there was no chance to come back. We've lost the guaranteed rate bowl to Cincinnati. We improved enough for year 4 though. I think we're gonna keep both of these guys from transferring. And just looking at this bracket, we're still a long way away from making the playoffs. I'm hoping we take another step forward next year though, even though we did lose some talented seniors. And look at this, Bernard Silver's trying to transfer. Please come back, dude. You did. Even though I want to sit him next year, I'm afraid the freshmen are going to come in at too low of overalls, and he has 96 throw power. He just has to play like it. I do have some good news too, is we can finally go after a transfer again. There's one 1-star that's considering our school, and I'm hoping that Brooks is at least super quick, but he has 77 speed. Do we even want this kid? I ended up not going after him. I was ready for position changes where I'm not going to be able to move around any of these athletes' positions until the season after, so we just have to make sure we remember to check those kids' names next year, and I don't know why I'm even looking at this right now. We're always going to have the worst class, and it looks like our players didn't auto redshirt if they didn't see the field. That might be another bug that's in the game right now. What I'm basically going to do is just sweat out these position changes. If I see a corner with like 81 speed, I'd love to move them over to linebacker or safety to bump up their overall, so that's what I'll be doing. And some of these jumps don't make much sense, like putting a left tackle at guard goes up 4 overalls, but I'll definitely take it. With all the work that we've put in, we're up to a 79 overall team with just 1-star players. I'm starting to feel really good about how we're building this team, but we have hit the caps at certain positions. Bernard Silver's not getting any better. Our running backs aren't going to get any higher than a 79. And I've noticed a lot of our wide receivers have slowed down in development too, which really stinks since we're about to lose our one guy that's over 90 speed. We might have to continue to go down this tactician branch and then also hire some coordinators that are in this same field. So after spending 40 coach points filling up these tiers, we'll see what happens. The next time I'm spending coach points, we're going to be revisiting this architect tree. I think we have to upgrade our quarterbacks. And some of those athlete freshmen came in as such low overalls because I couldn't move their position around, but we'll remember their names for next season. At least we got a couple really good quarterbacks between Max Bandy and Daniel Fink, and it's about time I start to make some cuts to this roster because we have to get rid of 9 different dudes. Some guys jump up in overall while others don't, and the ones that don't are getting removed immediately. But this is kind of my fault for recruiting too many players, and I just wish we could have changed these guys' positions. With only one senior on this year's roster and a full lineup already, I might be better off just not recruiting at all this year. But it's so hard to not take chances on some of these athletes when I have options to get so many different ones now. This is a tough spot to be in, but that's what happens when you redshirt almost everybody, keeping them around for all 5 years. I'm also very hopeful that one of these quarterbacks isn't going to have a bunch of skill caps, but even Daniel Fink has pretty much already reached his max potential. And I think the same is going to be true for Max Bandy. That's just what happens whenever you recruit only 1-stars. What that means though is we're going to to be sticking with Bernard Silva for the time being, and these two coordinators are 100% getting fired at the end of the year no matter how good of a season we have. If we ever want to make it into this preseason top 25, we're going to need to have 3 tacticians boosting up our team stats as much as possible. And if we could just win the Mountain West, we might be able to attract some good ones, but it seems like almost every team's overall is still going to be greater than ours besides the teams at the bottom. I really don't know what to think anymore, but I might have to stop putting at number 3 Georgia on our schedule. We're starting off every season with a loss. And only recruiting 1-stars has been such a weird challenge, but I'm enjoying it and we found a gym. We have to go after him. The problem is after that, I'd find another 2 gyms that we're also targeting and then a few other prospects as well. We needed a tight end and then I found a power rusher that had something like 84 strength. That's really good for a 1-star. What I will say about these 2 gyms though is they're both running backs. This guy's obviously better than the other one. And since 3 of our 6 halfbacks are juniors, we could actually use some more additions. Austin Babcock could lead the way still, but his caps might also give him some issues. I'm not sure how high he can get up to. And this is embarrassing to admit, but I did get a text from somebody that said the military schools in college football 25 don't automatically redshirt players. As I'm filming this, there's no bug for auto redshirting in the game. It was just something that I messed up because the military schools don't use redshirts, but if you want to, you still can. If I followed that rule though, this challenge would have been even more difficult. I'm starting to find some wide receivers with 89, 88 speed. That would be nice. But since nobody wants to transfer out, we don't have room to bring in many guys. I don't know why our championship contender dropped after we lost by 14 at Georgia. I mean, that should have been expected, but we might win a few of these. And I think if we ever have a good season, it's going to be based on luck. This team's still not where I want it to be for us to try to win a conference championship, so I figured just simulating a few more games couldn't hurt us, but we've actually picked up 2 more losses, making us 1-3 before we play Navy. This season might already be done, but I'm happy that I found another gym. This guy plays offensive lineman starting with 75 pass block, and I'm literally just scouting as many 1-stars as I possibly can. If they're a gym like Nick, I'll go after them, but that's about it. And if Navy's a higher overall, plus they're undefeated, they're just going to beat us in this rivalry. We might be coming off our best year yet in this rebuild so far, but we're clearly nowhere near being a championship contender. If we don't start winning soon, it might be time for a quarterback switch, and I wish I could give you all some better recruiting updates, but we've signed the guys that I've wanted and we're continuing to get any other player that I'd go after. I mean, this free safety is 89 speed. That's like the fastest DB we've been able to find, but I might just be bad at scouting, and this kid has 75 pass block. I feel like that's really good for a 1-star. Well, I always say that I'm not going to go after that many players, but now I think I'm going to sign a class of 13, and that's just not good whenever we only had 5 team needs and we're only losing 1 senior. I've literally had to cut myself out of recruiting because I was doing too much. And in the background, all these games that we've been losing have not been pretty. We only beat New Mexico by 1. So if we want to save our season, win our last 4 games, and make a bowl still, it is time for a new starting quarterback, and that is going to be Max Bandy. I'm ready to hop in and play with the freshman though. We're going against 0-7 Army. So my thought process is if he can't win this game, then he's never going to win a single game in his career. Wide receiver drops have certainly not helped him though. That's how we find ourselves in a 0-0 game. And can we please just hold on to the football like one time? Okay, the time we do, we're losing 5 yards. This has actually been a terrible experience. He's not having a good day, but maybe he's going to step up and scramble for a huge gain. That's what you want to see. And I'm pretty sure it's just on me to find better wide receivers because normally that route gets so open. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still made the catch, but we should not have had to aggressive it. And eventually we'd get to a 4th and 8 where they're about to swat it down. I'm starting to think that winning a championship with this team might be impossible. We've gotten 0 points against Army, but our defense has actually played well, giving us a chance in this game. We just have to pick up this 3rd and 6 where stepping up and throwing it on the run was our best move. But if we don't pick up this 3rd down, we're going to have to settle for a field goal, and the hitch route's going to get us just enough. We might actually beat Army. I'm going to do my best to settle for a field goal, but I don't think that's going to be enough because they've started to take timeouts, so we have to get into the end zone. Come on, make it in. Nobody scored all game, and now with it on the line, they've driven down to the red zone where they threw a dot, and that means that this one's probably going to overtime unless we somehow get into field goal range. I don't think we can hit from here, but we're going to try our best. I mean, this is moving so quick, and yeah, there was never a chance in the world. All right, well, I can tell that overtime's broken. They're somehow on a 3rd and 7 from the 34-yard line, and I have no clue how that happened, but we had a touchdown here until it was a curl route. All we have to do is get into the end zone, and we would win this game. Our tight end did get open, but he drops it, and that's probably the most heartbreaking thing that could have happened there, except we're still going to make a touchdown. We've won. These rivalries have been so close, but I will take the win, and if we make a bowl game because of that, I'll be so thankful. Spoiler alert though, we lost to Hawaii, so it's impossible for us to do so. We end our season against Wyoming, and I don't see how we could come out on top if they're an 84 overall. Well, we did, holding them to just 6 points, so this team shouldn't have finished 5-7, and and I think I know what I have to do with our coordinators even if I don't want to. They've been good motivators, but both of our quarterbacks really struggled whenever they played, and we just aren't getting that many rushing yards either. So next year there will be some changes in place, and how is a running back our leading receiver still? I think it's because there's some playing in the slot, but we wasted Liam McNeil's senior season. And even if these guys are high levels, it's time to fire them. We're getting away from the option scheme. I'm ready for a fresh start here at Air Force, but I'm not liking some of the options that we have. So I'm hoping there's at least some better defensive coordinators available. Well, Terrence Perry could be our guy. He just has to sign on with us. And it's early National Signing Day, so we can start to see player development traits. I've only seen impact as the highest. I want a star or an elite, but I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I have some good news. Terrence Perry decided to sign with us over FIU. Now we have to find an OC. And we could take Utah State's from them, but the issue is he runs a pro-style offense, and I might have to go with it anyway because he's a tactician. I'm also going to go into this architect tree and start to increase our passing game. I want to get down to tier 2 just so our quarterbacks can get some random skill caps leveled up. That could be super useful for us, but I didn't realize signing Bryce Blanco meant we had a coach with an F grade, and that might be what makes Silver transfer, but I'm not going to convince him to stay back again. If he wants to go play for a team that could make the playoffs, I'm not going to blame him. But that's not what happened, so we have one player leaving our roster, and it's Leon McNeil. He was one of the few one-star transfers for us, and he had a really good 2027, but nothing else outside of that. So we still haven't put a single player into the NFL. I'm not even excited for the transfer portal either because these guys aren't one-stars. We can't go after them. And I don't know what it's going to take to get some of these guys interested in our program. I feel like our school grades just keep getting worse, besides maybe championship contender, but we have 0 blue chip recruits because we're only going after 1-stars. If you don't know what it is, that's the ratio of 4- and 5-star recruits that a college has. And just looking at these recruiting classes, I don't think they're ever going to be good. I need a breakthrough player at some point that's higher than like a 55 overall. We're about to move these guys around though. This guy jumps up to a 58, and that's why I said it's important to keep in mind the athletes from last season. We also have a quarterback that goes up to a 72 at running back. These are the changes I'm going to be making. And anytime I can find a better fit for a player, they might be getting moved around because, for example, we need a tight end and now we can put Willett there. We also have some wide receivers that can play at that position. They're not improving enough there, so we might as well give them a shot somewhere else. There's definitely certain positions that seem to go up more than others as well. Like our entire offensive line looks pretty solid. I think the same can be true for our defensive line as well. But after doing a bunch of changes, the real question is going to be if these guys can even improve anymore or if they're capped out at this overall. Time for the moment of truth. I've done all that I can to get some tacticians in to hopefully help boost our overall. And if this current team can't clear like 83, we're not winning a championship. What are we at? We're at an 80? Oh gosh, this is going to be a hard challenge. I mean, there's some big time progressions like this sophomore jumping up to an 87, but we all know that he's capped out after that. And just scrolling through this roster, I feel like it's better than an 80 overall. I think we're being held back because of the low overalls at the bottom. I'm actually really impressed with how much all 3 of these quarterbacks jumped up. I think it's because I'm a huge motivator. But then when it comes to running back progression, it didn't happen as rapidly as I would have liked. The wide receiver room's the biggest deal. This is where we need to make sure that we're recruiting better because we haven't brought in the best of ones. And of course, signing all these freshmen might have been a huge mistake because as you can see, I have to cut 12 players from this team. These are the true overalls without the tactician boosts, and it's kind of funny how it all works out, but Bernard Silver never transferred out and he's actually about to be encouraged to. The same's gonna go for some of these senior wide receivers. I want to get the younger guys more experience. And I don't know what causes some of these younger tackles to jump above the older ones, but Joey Bias only ended up being a 77 for us. After a lot of cuts, I'm left with one more tough decision, and I've been removing a lot of the players that are older but don't start for us. With all that madness done, I feel like our true team overall should be around an 85, so I just hope that we can actually do well in conference play. And the reason I say I don't think our overall's correct is because we have a bunch of players that are up to like an 87, 88, which is very on par to what Boise State has, and they're sitting at an 86 right now. Choosing our starting quarterback's the next decision to make though, and I think we're gonna roll with Daniel Fink instead. He might be a normal dev, but he's already unlocked a few physical abilities, and I appreciate that. His throw power is also really good. It's a 95. It doesn't have to jump up, and he has room to improve on his accuracy. So we'll see what he can do for us with a schedule that doesn't contain Boise State, the best team in our conference, and the only team that I know will destroy us is Georgia. I'm back to having to recruit a little bit more though because I need to find some more wide receivers, and we have 17 seniors graduating after the season, which means there's some positions to fill even if our depth is pretty solid. Unfortunately though, after going through a couple weeks of recruiting, there's only one player on our board that's a gem. It's this wide receiver, and he has 90 speed, so I am grateful that we found him. But I can say right now, it is very difficult to come by good one-star wide receivers that are any better than that. This position doesn't seem to progress like the other ones either. That's why it's our worst room, alongside our tight ends, where our best two are seniors, and we need these guys to jump a ton in overall. My expectations going into this season are that we just win a bowl game, and it's still wild to me that it only takes us a few weeks to get our first commits. After losing to Georgia like we always do, we have a big matchup against Louisiana Monroe where we are favored, and I even took a look at their roster just to make sure that we're better than them. That's the only reason I felt comfortable simming it, and from here on out, I might play 4 or 5 games a year just to see if we can even win the Mountain West. The only problem with that is I'm not great at the game, so sometimes it makes more sense to just sim. Every time I think we're good enough for that though, we end up losing the game. We lost by 1 point, and Max Bandy was the one playing, not Daniel Fink. I'm not sure what happened. It's not like he's on the injury report, and I'm scared if we lose another conference game, our entire season's already over. Whenever that happens, all I can do is continue to scout players. I did find one gem on the offensive line, but that doesn't mean much, and it's time for us to bounce back with Air Force. Daniel Fink is out there on the field for us, and on this play, I'm gonna step up, float it over that defender's head, and we are gone to the crib. That's what I wanted to see. There's almost no fans in this stadium. You can see none behind the end zone, but I can't blame them for not being here. As we approach halftime, we are in a tight game though. We have to get points before, and that looked quick. I don't know what ability our running back has, but I'm kind of curious to see if he can just continue to break free. And let's see if we can come up with a big play to end this half. I saw that they were pressed up. We're taking the touchdown. Never mind. We were marked down at the 1 yard line. We're going to have to get the touchdown here, and we're tackled short. No, that's going to be the end of the half. And I actually just blew that so hard. That means getting defensive stops like right here would be crucial, where on 4th down, we're going to make the tackle in time. And the fact that nobody scored in this second half's kind of crazy. I've noticed wear and tear with Air Force is very broken though, or maybe it's because I'm using 1 stars. So that is something that I've been monitoring, and I think we're about to come up short on 3rd and 7 unless we can run for the first. Fresno State's starting to call timeouts. There's only 2 minutes left, and Daniel Fink needs to lead us to a win here, as we're going to hit our running back and he's wide open. The 2-point conversion is what I care about though, and we are going to get it. That's going to seal the game, which is great. Air Force has finally bounced back. I read there was a glitch with how the wear and tear works with military schools, so that's why I'm monitoring this so closely, and what we might have to do is just swap out our starting running back like every other week. Now that we're far into the dynasty though, I'm not too worried about playing some of these rivalries, because it's more important to me that we win our conference games instead. This loss really doesn't affect how our season will play out, but beating San Jose State would, so that's why we're about to hop into this as well. Well, with 20 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, we find ourselves up by 1, but I do think after this game, I am going to make one adjustment to some of the settings. Ever since it was pointed out, I can't stop from noticing how bad the wear and tear is for Air Force, and that could be one of the reasons why we've struggled a lot in sim, even though our roster's been pretty good. Eventually, we should get them off the field on 4th down, sealing our win, and we really just need one more first down, which we are going to get, plus a lot more on this 4th and 1. That was an incredible game. I don't think we've won by that much in a long time, and I'm just curious how this is going to affect the rest of the season, because I've never messed with this setting before. If we lose a few times in sim, maybe it's going to hurt us more by having it off, but I'm pretty sure it's going to help, because there were times when our quarterback had like -15 to a ton of different stats just for existing. Shout out to whoever let me know that on Twitter when they saw that I was rebuilding Air Force. Or maybe not, we lost that last game. Test number 2, we're playing at home against New Mexico, we're a higher overall, and we got a bunch of commits in the process. But more importantly, we won the game, so maybe it's just because we're playing at home versus playing on the road. We're still in the running to make the conference championship, so the year's not over. But beating or losing to 1-7 Army would have no effect on that. I should also point out some of the players we're recruiting, like Jeremiah Marshall. It's just that same quarterback build that has potential to be great. But I really don't care about any of these commits besides maybe the 90 speed wide receiver. I found another one though, Eric Landry. This kid's from Florida, so I started looking in that area, and that's where the fast guys are at. This breakthrough might be huge. We're now gonna have a class of 7 wide receivers, and I'm surprised at how this one turned out. 10-7 against Army. It's always a low scoring result. All we have to do now is beat 3-6 Nevada, and then we play number 4 in our conference, Colorado State, next week. I wasn't sure how it'd turn out, but after simming it, I see that we're 6-4. And the fact that I haven't played this in-state rivalry yet in this video is kind of crazy. They're better than us on paper, but this is our chance to actually make a conference championship, and it's very tight. With 4 minutes left, we are in a tie game, but we might have had a touchdown. And now we have to pick up this 3rd and 4 where that flat's gonna hit us hard. Charles Turpin held on to that football though, and now we're running for more. So we're getting some momentum, and I just realized how tiny our tight end is. He's number 21. And I think it's because I moved a wide receiver over there. We still got to punch this in though. Come on, with the Wildcat power, just keep on breaking tackles. Well, it is 4th and 1. We're going for it anyway. I'm not kicking a field goal. And let's go. That is what we needed against Colorado State. We're up by a touchdown. If we can just hold them on a 3rd and 10, I would like to think that they would end up punting it back to us. But maybe not. They're going for it, even with all 3 of their timeouts. And oh, this is on me. That's my fault. I was on the safety. I saw it too late, and they have a touchdown. That one hurts a little bit because it was very very preventable, but they came out pressing our receivers, and with 96 throw power, we've finally beat a team deep. I've been waiting for a moment like this throughout the entire rebuild. We might actually have a little bit of speed at wide receiver. And who was that? I know it was number 6, Wayne Weeks. He only has 87. As time winds down, we just can't give up a big play to the Rams. They're going to have a couple things over the middle, and they have to throw it away. Now it's 3rd and 10, 15 seconds left. I'm very worried that they're going to pull something off. But now it's starting to feel more real that we've actually taken them down, and all we had to do was get the sack there. Instead, they've thrown up a 50-50 ball. Come on, please do not let them catch that. All right, we've gotten the win. That was the most terrifying thing in the world. But you know what? We seem to come out on top whenever it matters the most. The rest of our conference has been pretty bad too, so we've pretty much locked our spot into the conference championship. And all we have to do is make sure that we don't lose to Wyoming and Sim. I feel like we would have the edge on them, but they're an 82 overall. And that makes me want to hop into it really bad. If we lose this now, you all are going to call me so dumb. But we didn't. We came out on top and we're ranked 22nd. We've made the top 25. That's going to put us in the conference championship, just like I was hoping for. And it was so close. It went to overtime where we came out on top, all because of Daniel Fink's 5 touchdowns. Remind me to never sim like that again. This is kind of crazy though that we're ranked inside the top 25. I wonder if we could be one of the top 5 highest ranked conference champions. That would put us in the playoffs, but right now we're not projected to make it. And it is ridiculous that our opponent is 5-7 Utah State. I don't know how they have the tiebreaker over Boise State and Colorado State, but I guess they must have beaten them. And this is the best we've done in the rebuild, so I'm not going to fire Bryce Blanco. I don't know how much him having a pro-style offense hurts us. It's not the same scheme as what we run, but he has so many good boosts to all of our players. And I wish I had more coach points than 8 because I need to start unlocking tier 2 for more of these positions. Coming out on top here though could do that for us. We're actually playing the conference championship at home. And isn't it crazy how the stands in the back of the end zone are starting to fill up? They're about to hop on the bandwagon as we get in. We're actually making progress with only 1-star recruits. And we're still nowhere near a championship contender or anything, but we can actually compete. We got a super easy opponent in this game, and I'm even throwing that late. But right now, we can literally do nothing wrong against them. I'm also almost 100% sure that these 2 Utah State players high-fived celebrating the touchdown, but no, they missed. That's got to be one of the most awkward things ever, to miss each other's hands. And I wonder if those guys are happy for us that we've taken home the conference championship. It was only a matter of time before we had something go our way. And Daniel Fink, the freshman, is going to start for the rest of his career. I am very happy with him. It would be really nice if this is just our first of many Mountain West Conference championships that he takes home for us. And maybe this will get more 1-stars to want to transfer to our school. We have a quarterback that might throw a lot of interceptions, but we're winning games, so that's what's important. And this season, I'm not too worried about our rushing stats. We started both of them, but what I've noticed is we feed them the ball a ton. Wayne Weeks has also had an incredible year with catching the ball. He's our best receiver with almost 1,000 yards. And who would have thought that moving Rashard Willett over to tight end from wide receiver would win him the best tight end in the country award? Now, unfortunately, that was not enough to get us in the playoffs. We're still ranked number 22. But that's how I expected it to play out. You're no longer seeing 4-loss teams in the playoffs now that they've patched the game, and I really appreciate that. It still happens every so often, but the sim is much more accurate. And after we check out our early National Signing Day dev traits, it's going to be time to beat Jacksonville State. Jeremiah Marshall, the quarterback's a normal dev, so he's not going to jump over anybody on the depth chart. We have an impact, of course, with the gym, and come on, we need a little bit better than just a couple of impacts. There's another one. It was only on guys that were gyms, though, and something happened to our team for us to drop down to a 76. That makes 0 sense to me, but that's why I know that overalls are still bugged in Dynasty, and we could be in some trouble with a few minutes left against Jacksonville State. At the moment, they're driving down the field trying to take a lead against us. They juked us out, and in order to win this game, we're going to have to respond back with at least a field goal on this drive. I wanted to win our bowl game really bad as well, but they've put up a great fight. Our running back got open though, and if that halfback angle route can do that more often for us, I might have to abuse it. Now we're stepping up. I love being able to scramble, but we still have a long way to go, and this time around, I wanted to use the playmaker to almost throw an interception, but instead we're about to break free. Of course, then there was a flag on the play. I couldn't see it, and the illegal forward pass means that we still have to work to get into field goal range. 3rd and 12 now. I'm assuming they're going to go with zone coverage, and we had the first down right there. We just couldn't get it out in time. Now we have to get this pass away, and I think we have lost to Jacksonville State. We have a 10-win season on the line at the moment. Just make a tackle, and here we go. It's 3rd down. They went with the halfback screen. We don't have anybody over there in time, and you've got to be kidding me. It's fine. At the end of the day, we still won the Mountain West Conference, but that loss does sting a little bit. It means we're not going to finish the year in the top 25, but our pro potential's gone up, so we've probably put players into the NFL even if we didn't make the playoffs. I mean, it says they're graduating, and the highest they can get without the boost is like an 84, 83 overall, but I still thought I would see somebody on this draft results screen. Now we figured out the hard cap without any coordinator and coach boost for these one-star recruits. And there's a lot of players that want to transfer into our team, but the real question will be, are there any one-stars that do? You know, there is one available, but that's it. He's a transfer freshman, Tevin Turner, and I'm really hoping that by the time we're done scouting him, he's going to look good, but he seems pretty average. I'm going to bring him in just in case he pans out to be a higher overall than what we normally get. But South Carolina is not making it easy. They actually are trying to steal a one-star recruit from us. The only reason he even wants to come here is because of playing time. And I think it says a lot about an SEC program if they're trying that hard to get this one star. At the end of the day, we came out on top, but we had to fight hard. And I think this is the first time we've had a transfer in like 4 or 5 years. His stats might not have looked great, but he does have impact development. And it's a shame that he's not going to show up in position changes. I am going to have to move some players around too and hope training results pay off. I think Joey Whitehart would make for a better tight end just because he has 83 speed. And there was also this dude with 87 speed that might make for a better tight end as well. He goes up to a 67. I'm really hopeful for the development of Jalen Peacock though if we move him over to cornerback. He is 89 speed. And I just realized that I forgot to recruit not only a kicker but a punter as well. Our team overalls dropped down to 74 before we advanced the week. And I just realized the issue for that. Because we were so good, our defensive coordinator got fired and now we have a motivator there instead. I should have been paying more attention. I think we're going to take a step back this season, especially since Colin Archibald ended up being a 45 overall gym halfback. I'm going to have to move him to another position. It always hurts to see some of these players not develop that well. And we have 18 coach points to spend, so I'm going to put that into our running game because I want to have some better running backs too. This is a tough spot to be in because last year might have been our peak. I mean, Fink didn't go up in overall at all. And Max Bandy's still not maxed out. He could be our best option. I have to roll with Daniel Fink though. He brought us all the glory and he can still improve his accuracy. Okay, that's good. Then at running back, we have Dwayne. He was the quarterback we moved over, but he is capped out in this position. I probably should have chose someone else. And this room's not looking very good besides Austin Babcock. I might just start him. He's the impact one-star gym that we signed a little bit ago. He still has plenty of room to grow. And I should have never promised at the beginning of this rebuild that I would have Georgia on the schedule every single season. By now, we've recruited a million times. All we can do is protect our conference championship, go back to back, and hope that we can live up to this B+ championship contender grade. The year that we win this first game against Georgia and Sim, I'm gonna go crazy, but that wasn't this season, even though we only lost by 6, so I'm glad we played an FCS school after that. It didn't take long for us to get 4 weeks deep into the year. I've recruited a kicker and a punter, and then the rest of these guys, I'm not sure how big of a role they'll play, but Sammy Magnum has the potential to be massive because he's a gym, and then Eli McNeil is just another one of those one-star quarterbacks that's really good. The rest of the dudes that we go after are just gonna be bodies on the field. I doubt we find more gyms, but I don't mind. We've done recruiting so many times by now that we know how it works. No matter what, we're pretty much going to bring in every single player that we want, and I feel like we play Utah State first every season. I don't want to get off to a bad start in conference play though, so we're hopping into it this year. We're going on the road, and after beating them in the conference championship last year, we've owned them ever since. We're about to get a huge play here as well. What is our player doing jogging? And I literally might bench Jackson for this type of effort. All he had to do was block this guy, but instead he starts jogging around like the play's completely over. And once he saw we were free, if he would have just made one block, we might have had a touchdown. As much as I want to bench the sophomore though, he is our best overall receiver, so he can get away with it. There's different rules for different players here at this one-star program. Now with the jet touch pass, we're getting even closer. And I'm just looking to seal the fact that we're winning this football game. We might not have gotten in there, but we're going to do it right here. And they tried their hardest to make it competitive, but we were never blowing the game. As far as I'm concerned, we're doing pretty well, but I can't play them all, so we'll see what happens against Navy. See, these are the types of losses that'll keep us out of the playoffs. 16-14. This was such a manageable one. And I'm not happy with how Daniel Fink played. These stats aren't good. I'm going to make a switch to the higher overall. I feel like this team's special. We're going to give Max Bandy another shot. And if he can't take down 1-4 San Jose State, he's going back to being the backup. Well, there it is. We won by 12. I'm not sure what type of stats he put up though. That's what's important, and these look really good. If he also wins on the road at San Diego State, we for sure have a new starter. But that didn't happen. Instead, we fall to 3-3. By now, I've almost given up on this season. We just have to have a lucky run throughout a whole year. But it's not fully over if we beat 5-1 Nevada on the road. I just feel like our team overall is never going to reach the level of the other programs in our conference. They're an 81. And I don't want to talk about how this game went. We struggled offensively. I thought for a while that Daniel Fink was the answer, but after this performance, I'm not so sure if that is true. And I've had to already decide that it is time for another season. We're going to get the recruits that we want. We just need to make sure that we hire a better coordinator. And I can't believe how much we have bounced back after that one loss. We're about to play number 25 Wyoming. If we beat them, I don't know how the tiebreakers work, but we could make the the Mountain West Conference Championship. And this is such a huge matchup for the program. I don't think we've ever beat a ranked team before, and if we could do that at home, that would be incredible. There's also snow all over the ground. There's a lot of pressure going into this one. And it has been a defensive showcase for sure. Not much to do with offense, though we're going to have our check down, and that's not enough. I didn't want to risk our tight end dropping it, but that could be a mistake. Now we need our running back to fight for extra yards, and we'd still end up getting stuck on a 4th and long where our corner route's open. We just have to drag our feet. That's what you want to see. Our tight end looks so small. Now we're going to roll out, throw it to our running back again. That's how we move the ball. And then finally punching it in on the ground, hopefully, or not. Whatever happens here, we cannot settle for 3. I am going to hope that we have someone open. We do with the drag, and there we go. As much as I can't stand Weeks sometimes because he doesn't block for his teammates. The senior has put us on top, and using this RPO, Crowley is going to have a lot of space. He's going to break away using probably like 88 speed, and he is gone. We're actually starting to pull away, which is surprising me, but I've been able to step up and run with Fink a bit. And the only reason he's still our starter is because of all the things he did for us last season. I don't think we're picking up this 3rd down, but the bubble screen has worked for us before, and this could be my new staple as long as we get into the end zone. Man, that was a tough play. He took a hit as he was getting in as well. And I'm surprised that we beat Wyoming by that much. It doesn't make much sense to me how they were ranked, but we did something right because we're in the conference championship again. If you take out our loss to Georgia and Navy, we'd be sitting at 9-3 right now. One of those was my fault, and we're going to have our rematch against Nevada. But I don't get how we got in the first place. Our conference is terrible. They are letting a school of literally only 1-star prospects go out and beat them. And Nevada's averaging almost 10 points per game more than us, which just lets me know we might get blown out in this like the first time. This one is always at their stadium. It's never the other way around. And apparently that's another bug that's come out of this first patch, so I'm sure it's going to be fixed soon too. For the rest of this rebuild, our conference schedule will never change again, but that means we don't have to play Boise State. And I'd actually be upset if it did change after realizing it shouldn't. The pass rush so far in this one has been insane. We have to get it out very quick. And I just want this to be a 1-possession one at the half where I'm going to avoid all the pressure and go with Daniel Fink for as long as I can. All right, here we go. 1st and goal, halfback screen. They were kind of prepared for it, but we waited a second and now we're down at the 5. This is perfect. It gives us a chance to chew a little bit of clock before we inevitably get in, I'm hoping, with the Wildcat. I mean, this is what our go-to is. And isn't it crazy that we were going to have him starting at quarterback for us at one point in this rebuild? You end up moving people around in all sorts of ways, but it seems like Nevada's not struggling. They scored again. So the pressure is back on us, down by 2 possessions, and I'm pretty sure that corner route is boxed. They have had the home field advantage, which has made things a little bit more difficult, though we did beat them deep on this play, and the fact that we just dropped that ball is making me sick. The hot routes are not going into effect. There we go. We have the Texas route, 4th down. We just need enough time to get the ball out. And after that, I just simmed out of frustration because the game was over, but no, we got the ball back. We scored a touchdown, and then they messed up. We scored another touchdown almost immediately. So if we hold the Wolfpack from getting a field goal, we'd actually take them down. The problem with doing that is they still have plenty of time, and our man-to-man coverage is not doing well. They're already in field goal range, and nope, they're getting a touchdown. They don't need a field goal. You see, something like that was bound to happen. That's why I wasn't too excited. We now have to score a touchdown ourselves. And the fact that they missed the 2-point conversion could actually be a really big deal. Sometimes my wide receivers drive me crazy though, because what are you doing in that situation? We should be holding on to that all day. And I really want to go deep against them, but I'm scared to do it. So we're just going to continue to step up and take what we can get. Daniel Fink is not a deep passer. There's no reason to force it. We still got a minute on the clock, and that's another completion for us. But what I'm really afraid about is we're just not going to pick up a set of downs. That happens all the time, except that was a great playmaker, and that should have been it. We should have been intercepted right there. We are so fortunate at the moment, but I'm going to continue to try to playmaker because it should work. We're going down. Right now, I don't know how long the clock is running for. That is a big issue, but it's come back. It looks like there's about 30 seconds left, and we might as well just take it in. If they get in field goal range in 30 seconds, they deserve to win, especially since they're about to get the sack. And I'm not feeling very good about this. I know what the computer's about to do. They're going to shred us or run for a lot. I mean, they still have all 3 of their timeouts. What can we even do in this situation? We're going to need to make a play, and they got the right block. 13 seconds left now, though. I'm trying to generate some pressure, and we almost picked that ball off, but we didn't, so there's pretty much one play to prevent them from getting in the field goal range, and what is that? I tried to ice their kicker, but they're way too close. There's no reason they should have gotten this off, and that's my fault for running zone coverage with 8 seconds left. We're not even going to level up. It takes so much much too now. And in what world is Vanderbilt's quarterback ever winning a Heisman? If that can happen, surely we can eventually make the playoffs, but we're not beating Oregon. And I guess this could be a decent test run if we can keep up with a 91 overall team. It's a shame that we still haven't gotten our name in there, but Nevada did. All we had to do was have a better season. And I don't know what type of quarterback stats these are, but Max Bandy played much better than Daniel Fink when he was out there on the field. We might have to make some switches. We got Austin Babcock that's taken a lot of the rushing yards. He's getting more than we've had in a while. And our leading receiver wasn't Wayne Weeks this year. It was actually freshman receiver Dwyer. I forgot to fire my defensive coordinator though. I missed that stage. And there's just no way that this bowl against Oregon goes well for us. It's like every single time we score, they score as well, so we are not able to keep up. That's what I was expecting, but we've done better than I thought. There is still a little bit of hope left with 4 minutes in this game as we drive down the field, but we're going to need some big plays if we're going to make that happen, and I didn't even see that defender there. I'm not going to act like I did. I think it's pretty clear that this roster is not built to win a championship, but I'm not giving up. We've just started to recruit some players that are much faster at corner. The slowest one though, of course, was the only Jim, and then we also have Preston Chester that has impact dev with him. That's the best we have at the moment, but Nevada made a run in the playoffs, so maybe we could as well. That actually gave me a little bit of hope, even though I think we're about to have another like 15 seniors graduating. It seems like the linebacker's the only one that's super good, and it's crazy that Wayne Weeks was actually the lowest overall. Now I just have to hope that one of these 1-stars is interested in coming here and we can add some to our board. I will take that. They're both transfer freshmen too. There's a chance that they're way better than the 1-stars we can go after. I'm hoping for the best, because that 1-star free safety transfer we got last season's a 60 overall, which is better than like the 53 that a 1-star normally comes in at. Now there's no guarantees Tevin Turner becomes that much better, but he does have a lot of room to improve in with all of these stats. And it's looking like we're gonna land Khalil Bushman, but then Brian Colin, Kansas is beating us out for. I can't believe that I'm about to have to guess on this guy's hard sells just so we have a better chance at landing him. And I must have missed because we're down to number 3. This is disgusting. Why is Kansas trying to go after that 1-star and then this 1-star too? I've never been more frustrated in my life. They stole one of them, and that means we only got one 1-star transfer to come in. That's ridiculous. I literally just built the Jayhawks on this channel and they're already so bad they're going after 1-stars. And the guy we got isn't even good. He has normal development. Our team overall is also down to a 73. I doubt we're going to jump up that much. And it's just hit me that we're about to have zero help at DB. We're going to lose so many players after the year. We're actually regressing as a team. Now we're only a 76, and this rebuild might be impossible. I have a couple more tricks up my sleeve, but it's going to take encouraging a lot of players to transfer and a really good recruiting class. So that's what's going on at the moment. I'm about to turn into an even bigger menu merchant. Step 1 at the end of this season is going to be firing both of these coordinators. We need to go fully back in on the motivator pathway. And we could keep our DC around, but there's a couple spots I wish he was a bit better at. Then for me, the architect stuff just doesn't seem to be working out. I only have 12 coach points to spend. I'm a level 36, so we might as well max out this tree instead with stuff like quarterback. Once we get to tiers 3 and 4, that's going to help out our stats a lot more. And I'll be testing new things. Like this year, we're going back to our base offense and seeing how the option does. If it doesn't work, so be it. And I also should point out that Jeremiah Marshall could be the quarterback that actually takes us all the way. He is field general as one of his mental abilities. That's huge, but his skill caps do hurt him a little bit. We'll see how much he can actually go up. And something that's pretty funny to me is I've noticed most of these 1-stars are really tiny. Even our running back Austin Babcock is 5'8". I'm wondering if he's maxed out his potential so far with his impact dev, and there's still a little bit of room for improvement, but not much. Just looking at these route running stats, he might make for a better wide receiver. And I'm hoping we make it back to the Mountain West Conference Championship, but my new plan is to sim a lot. I need to get through these seasons quick, since that gives us a better chance at making the playoffs, and I've noticed that our conference schedule actually regenerated. That's huge. It might make life harder, but it is what it is. I'm giving myself 5 more years in this rebuild, and if we still don't make the playoffs by then, I will officially say it's not possible to win it all. But I think one of these years we're going to get lucky, and I'm going back to scouting as many athletes as I can. With 18 seniors graduating, we could stop at just a class of 18, but it says we have 28 team needs, and I'm going to get an entire starting 22. That's right, one of every position is about to be covered. I'm going to have a player for each spot. And this is the fastest 1-star I've ever found. He is 92 speed. We also found a Jim at tight end to go after. I think that's the first I've had at that position. And the only thing that really stinks about going after a ton of players is sometimes I'm locked out of players that I would have gone after. Willie Maples had 88 speed, but the 1-star clearly didn't want to play for Air Force. And let's just get this loss against Georgia out of the way. Well, I won't feel bad about taking it off the schedule now. Somehow we have won 20-17. I guess it was at home and that helped, but this is crazy to me. We passed the ball a lot even though we're in an option formation, and I guess that worked. My plan for the season's literally just to sim until until there's games that are big that I could step into and hopefully help us win. And if we're beating Georgia and Sim, I don't want to touch a thing. As our offensive commits start to flood in, I'll start to go after some defenders too. And this is the first time I've seen anybody at risk of transferring in a long time. We're actually winning, but Tevin Turner doesn't like that. This is the kid that transferred in. He's only a sophomore to 78. I want him to stick around. He could still get up to like an 85. That's why you want those one-star transfers, though I think Khalil Bushman's going to be a little bit different. His rating caps seem to be about at an 80. And what a week we just had in recruiting. I'm pretty sure we signed 7 one-stars at once. The option worked against New Mexico State too, but it didn't against Nevada. They beat us 27-0. And what I've figured out is if you want the fastest one-star cornerbacks, you probably need to go with the zone archetype. This kid is 91 speed. He's somebody that we should definitely bring in. And then I found this gym at free safety. I'm pretty much just scouting as many one-stars as I can to find the best of the best. When it comes to our on-field performance though, the option's clearly not working. We've gotten beaten in all 3 of our conference games. So we're just going to keep trying out new offenses until something sticks. We're 0-3 in conference play, so this season's already over. And my only real focus will be to continue to sign more and more one-stars. By this point, we've pretty much brought in our entire starting offense 4 years from now if we make it that far. And now the focus switches over to defense, but I do need to find some more linebackers and defensive linemen. Well, I don't want to jinx it, but ever since we made this switch over to multiple offense, we're 3-0. And this might be the one that we stick with for the rest of the rebuild. We'll see if we win out. I'm sure we're still going to pick up some losses, but we've guaranteed ourselves a bowl game. And I think at the moment, I'm just going to sign 24 prospects, but if I find any other guys that I want, I'll make sure to put points on them too. When you have players on your roster with the name of Kamani chosen, I feel like that just helps your odds of winning. And we're up to a B championship contender. We're now sitting at 7-3. I mean, eventually our luck has to end. Surely someone like Colorado State takes us down. They're 8 overalls better. And that's what happened. We lost by 5, but I still think we found our offense going forward. We overachieved with it, and even if Daniel Fink didn't have that many passing yards, he limited his turnovers a lot more, while also leading the team in rushing yards and getting Austin Babcock involved with Matt Crowley too. Those were some interesting rushing stats, and once again, Jaleel is going to be our leading wide receiver. But of course, we fell very short of making the conference championship. This is my moment to fire these coordinators though and hire my final ones for the rebuild. That's what I'm going to do. And I might regret this in a couple weeks, but both of them are going to be gone. Our bowl game's the New Mexico Bowl, so at least that's winnable. Until I saw that Middle Tennessee State was 11-2. This might be more difficult than I was thinking. Without either of our coordinators, the game's saying we're a 72 overall. But again, that calculation can't be correct. I'm seeing multiple guys well above 80, and I think it's because we have some 50 overalls at the bottom of our roster. It shouldn't factor that stuff in, but I've been told it does, and this athlete quarterback's the first one that's had an impact development trait. Marco Pettigrew is going to be the starter that takes us all the way. That's actually massive for us for being a one-star QB. And now I just need to see some more impacts. I mean, we got it on one of these linemen. This is the entire starting lineup I'm hoping for going forward. We got a couple more back-to-back as well. But once we got down to the bottom, those impact development traits did slow down. I'm very happy with that class, though. If we're ever going to win a championship, it would be with them. And now I get to look through some of these coordinators to see who would be the best fit for us. Well, one of them's a level 30, and the rest are around the 20s, so you know I'm going to have to give an offer to Terrence Perry. And then I'm probably going to wait until after this bowl game to send out another offer. Our defense just hasn't existed in this matchup, so that's been the main issue, though we might have a touchdown on this play. And Daniel Fink's done us well, but I'm feeling like he's starting to hit a ceiling. At least we got the coordinator that we wanted. We have a level 31, and then we have level 20s to choose from for our defensive coordinator. This is probably the best we're going to get, a full-on motivator. He's developing into a tactician. I think Colin Farrell can improve with the team, so I'm very thankful he signed on, and this is going to be our final coaching staff unless one of them's stolen by another school. I'm actually going to match our defense and offense to what they are too, but if we need to, we can always go back to what we had. And I don't know why our pro potential is dropping. It shouldn't be a shock we're putting nobody into the NFL. This has been a wild rebuild so far. We've now been going for 8 seasons, but I feel like we're starting to do a lot better. And just taking a look at my coach stats so far, you can see that our record has been under 500, but we've had our last 3 seasons be winning seasons, and we also have a conference championship. One day, you will see us in this playoff too. I'm hoping at least. Rice made it this year. And this year with players leaving, it looks like the highest overall is 82. We had some good guys in here, including Max Bandy, who played for us at some points, but nobody I'm going to miss too much. Now we have the transfer portal. Of course, there's players above 1-star prestige that want to come to our school, but we have 3 to choose from this year, and that's a lot. We really don't need a quarterback, especially since his stats aren't great, but this center might be amazing. He's got over 80 in 3 different categories. The only problem, though, is Washington State's pushing super hard to get him, and just in case we don't land him, I'm adding a bunch of 1-stars to our board and scouting them until we find some more gems. Never mind, it turns turns out I've already scouted all these players earlier on in the year. And thank goodness we got Alex Dukes. I really want to know what his overall is. We also got this transfer too. I don't want to land the quarterback, but we have him as well. And with a couple extra 1-stars for depth, we're going to finish out with a class of 29 players. The dev trait on Dukes is hopefully impact, but it is just normal. And since I have 12 coach points with nothing really to upgrade here, we're going to have to go over and finish out the passing game tiers. We're going down to tier 4, and that's a big boost to accuracies. This is when things get really real for us though. We have our coaching staff built out, and we're starting the foundation of the roster I want to try to win a championship with at a 69 overall. We're going to have to pull some strings with these guys to make things work. I knew that when I recruited a physical wide receiver, he'd be a much better tight end. And all I can say is we're in a ton of trouble if these cornerbacks don't develop a lot. Well, they did jump up a bit, but we're currently sitting at a 73. And from the looks of it, this freshman class is pretty solid. I think I'm going to over-recruit for one more class. There's obviously players that were athletes I couldn't move to a better position, but we'll think about them next year. And with a roster size of 92, I'm going to have to make some hard cuts if I want to have another huge class. That wasn't fun, but it says we've cleared up room for 23 more prospects, so we'll see what we can do with that. We also no longer have to play Georgia to start every season, so we're going to have a bit easier of a schedule. I still can't believe we beat them in sim, but that was pretty cool, and even with our low overall, we're supposed to finish 4th in our conference. I'm not forgetting about red shirts either. I want these guys here as long as possible, especially Marco Pettigrew, and I'm super excited about him even though he's 5'9" because of that impact development, but these rating caps might hold him back more than I would have liked. Before the year starts, the last thing I have to do is set up my board, so I'm going to deal with that, and I found one running back with 88 speed just in case we need a couple more. I think it's safe to say I found a couple more great prospects though. Look at this guy. He is a gem at wide receiver, and he also has 90 speed. These are the players that I want, and I wish it was this easy to find players with 90 speed throughout the entire rebuild. I'm tryharding the scouting too. I want to get the best possible players that I can, so I'm comparing stat by stat and then removing the player that has worse attributes over and over. I hope it pays off, but we might have a really bad season, and I've already realized we're switching out of air raid attack immediately. I don't care if it's not going to match our coordinator. We played so much better with the multiple offense, and losing 42-21 is actually insane. Our defense might be a problem too. I might have to change that as well, but 2 picks does not help. If we lose to an FCS school, that's when we know things are really bad, and I don't think we did considering Cam Jackson just went for 180 yards and 4 touchdowns. For Air Force to have a national offensive player of the week, that's a big deal, and it was 41-14, so it's not like it was even close, but we'll see how the rest of this year plays out. I know we're going to sign all the guys we want, including the 90 speed gym wide receiver, so I'm not worried about that. And I found a couple more good corners. This guy is 91 speed, while this guy's a gym with 89. Anyway, my main concern was how we do in sim, and that's for a reason. We're simply just not a high enough overall. So going into week 10, we're sitting at 9th in our conference. And despite winning National Defensive Player of the Week against Army, we lost to them 29-7, so things are not going any better. We're going back to a 3-3-5 defense, and we're also going back to Auburn's playbook with the spread. I want to see if we can get some wins, because at the moment, it's Daniel Fink's senior year, and if we lose one more game, we're not going to make a bowl. Let's just say seeing stuff like this, 28-10, 48-10, is heartbreaking, and it might not have been the playbooks all along. We're going back to these two and sticking with it the rest of the rebuild. I think our roster's just terrible, but sometimes we beat Wyoming, and it looks like we're going to end the season the right way. Since they're the Cowboys, it shouldn't be any surprise that they can't win games that they should. And we're done with our recruiting class. We've signed 19 players, but we could always bring in some transfers too. There were 5 gyms in there, which is exciting, and I can't believe that Daniel Fink's time at Air Force is over. I mean, from a rushing perspective, our offense was terrible this year, but he got to sling the rock to some of these wide receivers, and it's a good thing that 2 of them are only sophomores. We got a long way to go still, but this is hopefully the last time that we finish under 500. And I'm 100% sure that if Marco Pettigrew graduates in 4 years when he's a senior and we still haven't made the playoffs, I've just failed this rebuild. That's not something I want to happen though, and I'm kind of wondering if we should fire this coordinator and try to hire another one. I didn't do it just because I said I'd stick with these guys, and I didn't want to take the dice roll that we got somebody worse, but it was tempting, and if I can find more than 5 impact devs, I'd be so happy. I've already seen 3, that's 4, come on, we have 5 now, 6. Come on. Yep, 7 of them in one class. Those guys are going to be on the roster that either makes the playoffs or misses it forever. And I didn't realize how good we had it a couple of years ago. That was probably our window. Alex Dukes wants to transfer. We just got him to transfer, and now he has commitment issues for sure. But we convinced him to stay, and I don't want Ryan Kavka. I don't know why I signed him in the first place. He's free to leave. We're losing some good seniors though. And the fact that George Van Dyke wasn't drafted is kind of crazy. I'm starting to think 1-star recruits can't get drafted. There's no 1-star transfer transfers that want to come this year. And by the time this video is done, this is 100% going to be the longest rebuild I've had on College Football 25. I'm so invested right now though, I'm hoping our overall can jump back up to around a 75. And I got a lot of work to do now that I can move around the players that I signed from last year. Something I'll never understand is the athletes that are supposed to be linemen actually go up like 10 overalls when you move them over to the defensive side of the ball. And DeMarcus Clark was listed as a power running back, but he's a lot better over there too. He goes up 16 overalls if we put him on defense instead. Then there's crazy flips like this. If I take Kyrie June from left outside linebacker and put him on the other side of the ball, he goes up to an 83. So I don't understand how some of that stuff's calculated, but with only 12 coach points, I can't reach tier 2 on any of these positions still, and those are the last things that I have to upgrade. Because our defense has so many DBs out there on the field, I think we're going to shoot for tier 2 of Limitless first. And there's the jump I was looking for. We're back up to about a 77. We have players that want to transfer, but I'm very happy with this. We also have a lot of young guys up here that might be able to get better. And keep an eye on right guard Preston Chester. He's got impact dev, which is not fully maxed out. This could be the highest overall player we ever have. Then at quarterback, we have multiple options. I might have to start Jeremiah Marshall because he could still improve a little bit more, and he's an 82 already with field general. I know I said I'd roll with Marco Pettigrew, but I think for now we're just going to have the highest overall on the field. And if you're curious about Eli McNeil, this kid has gray hair with some of the worst skill caps in the world. He is not going to ever play unless we have 2 guys injured. We also did really well with some of our freshman signings. No one lower than a 50 overall this time around. I'm seeing some up in the 56s. And I only have to get rid of 2 players, which means the wide receivers that are slow aren't going to be on the team. This year with this cupcake schedule, we have no excuses to lose some of these games besides maybe 3 or 4. But we have to earn our respect back in the Mountain West Conference. They think we're going to be like the 9th best team. Because of all of our efforts over the last 2 years, we've done a really good job setting us up for success 4 years from now with 44 freshmen. And with only 8 seniors, I'm probably only going to sign a player if they end up being a gem. Even though I said that, I probably won't mean it because I'm finding some really good 1-stars that aren't gems with some amazing stats. And that includes Max Davis at wide receiver with 90 speed and 90 acceleration. I also still haven't found a single gem, so these are just the 8 players that I'm going after. And we better not lose to the Pandas to start the year. We didn't. We beat them by 1, but ever since then we've lost every single game, and it's not getting any better. It's taken almost no time for me to be done with this season as well. I feel like I swap these playbooks back and forth way too much, but I'm just hoping for something to work. And I have added a little bit of extra depth to this recruiting board just in case we need it, but I didn't find a single gem. It shouldn't get any better from here, so we're going straight to the first college football playoff poll. And at the moment, we're 4-4, so something must have gone right. After all of those losses, we beat Boise State, we beat New Mexico, and we also beat Nevada. With Jeremiah Marshall playing okay, but on the ground, it was Matt Crowley that had 3 touchdowns and 181 yards. Depending how these next few weeks go, I could step into a couple, because I'm pretty sure if we win out, we're gonna have a spot in the Mountain West Conference Championship. We've never played at Allegiant Stadium, and they're an 84 overall, so if we come out on top, that would be incredible, but my expectations are super low. Well, with time running down in the first half, I'm gonna roll out, and I hope that we're able to reach the end zone here, but we have been knocked a yard short, so we're just gonna hand it off. And why does the game feel so quick? It's literally been that long since I played that I'm starting to wonder why the game feels like that. We have an open corner out on 3rd and long. Come on, we gotta get in. And this is the first time the scoreboard hasn't glitched out in a matchup. Have I been playing this file so long that they've come out with a patch? I don't know. All I know is I'm really enjoying the gameplay right now. We're gonna take another check down, and we just gotta get into the end zone. There's a minute left in the 3rd quarter, and we're in a tie game, so it's really important. But I could make a mistake trying to throw that fade route, and instead I'm gonna be patient and probably just scramble in. Unfortunately for us though, UNLV scored the next 14 straight, so we needed a huge play, and that's what we got right here. It is nice to have some wide receivers that can beat the press. They're also not picking up this 3rd down. So after burning a timeout, we're getting the ball back. This might be dumb, but if we don't pick up this 3rd and 5, I think I'm gonna go for it anyway. And that was exactly what we needed right there. We also have them beat, but Marshall just didn't make the right throw, and I think I'm about to take a sack. I had to be smart about it. I turned shoe clock on, but I also had a false start. So now this game is going to be headed to overtime unless we have a miracle on this play, and there's no way that we just routed him up. I don't know how he dropped that, but as long as we don't take a safety, this game's all over. We might as well take a shot on the final play. And come on, Britt is outrunning 24. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're actually going to win on the final play. Oh my gosh, that dude cannot be faster than 90 speed. And it's Brandon Britt, the freshman, on the end of that ball. I don't know why they weren't in prevent defense. That has got to be the craziest ending we have had to a game in this rebuild yet. And I am having a blast using junior quarterback Jeremiah Marshall. That game was so much fun that I want to play against Colorado State too. And what is happening in the Mountain West at the moment? The entire conference just looks terrible. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about our 4-year plan, but we can't pull away from Colorado State, and the score bug has been fixed. It's no longer glitching out, but I'm not sure what fixed it. I have been on this game pretty much non-stop since that first patch came out, and I have not updated it, so it's pretty cool that they were able to fix it without having to have an update. And this rebuild has been so long that I've gone through 3 different builds of College Football 25 in it. I know that they nerfed jet touch passes a little bit too, so you're probably not going to see as much of it later on, but it worked on this play. And if we could just hold strong defensively, we should be able to beat Colorado State. It's 4th and 3. We did press them, but we knocked down the ball, and they have come out pressing on 3rd and 7. This is the game right here. They're pressing our fast freshman wide receiver. He's going to run straight by that DB. I'm sure they ran commit. They probably thought we were handing it off, and it is over. I was able to close that one out too, so we're going back to the conference championship. Unless we lose to Wyoming in Sim, which I guess is possible. It's really crazy this entire year turned around though. We have been on a 6-game winning streak, and I am fully trusting Sim. Please tell me we're going to come out on top versus them. We did. I can't remember the last time we lost to them at the end of the year, so they don't even worry me anymore, and we have to play UNLV again. 35-24, that's a decent win. It wasn't a close battle. Jeremiah Marshall did turn it over once, but he's done enough to help me level up as a coach, and that means that we can finally purchase tier 2 here. We're going to have our DBs going up even higher in overall. That's exciting, but if we lose this, I will be pretty upset. And the fact that we started the year 1-4 but finished on top of our conference as the 1 seed is just nuts. Our win streak has awarded us home field advantage for this conference championship though, and we are trailing with less than 2 minutes left, but if we score a touchdown, we'd come out on top. We just have to find a way to keep on picking up first downs, and we should have our corner route right here, where holding on to that ball is much easier said than done. But what happened? That zig route always gets open, but I guess it didn't right there, and I'm looking for cover 2, except that zone stuck with us. A couple bad decisions have made it 3rd down where our running back doesn't get the ball, and that's a bad time to be off target. It's now 4th and 10, but we have the seaman just go down. All right, a minute left on the clock now. They're still getting in pressure, and I think we have to go back to the 4 verticals play where I'm gonna have to pass lead to the sideline, and we put that ball in the right spot. That is what I want to see right there though, and we're gonna spin out at least 1 defender, so we should be able to take a lead with like 10 seconds left. And come on, we just got to get to this outer edge. I'm gonna do a little celebration on them. If we make the extra point, we've won our 2nd Mountain West Conference championship, and they took a timeout to ice us, but there's just no way that we're not gonna drill this one. If we give this up, we didn't deserve to win in the first place. I saw them try to get open right there. We're gonna go ahead and swat it down, and I am so proud of this team to make it back to this point. Once I saw our overall drop a few years ago, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to, but here we are with a chance to get 10 wins for the first time this season. I want to make it happen. All of this work to lead up to this point, and we still have a long way to go, but we can't mess this up now. We're averaging more points per game than them, and they are just a 78 overall. It's early National Signing Day too, which means we get to see if any of these 13 targets have better than normal dev. I don't care too much since we've already built the foundation, but it would have been nice, and if we're ever going to make the playoffs, we can only lose like 2 games in a year. I'm feeling amazing about the progress we've made though. I also feel like Jeremiah Marshall should have been in the Heisman race with stats like this, and it's crazy that he could play that well while Matt Crowley also rushed for almost the most we've had throughout the entire rebuild. The 2 wide receivers that made this possible really are both juniors, so I'm glad to have them back, and then Brandon Britt's the freshman that had that game-winning touchdown. So theoretically, next season should be even better than this one. At the moment, we're on pace to get to 10 wins this season too. We just have to stop them, and it is 4th and 7 where I'm watching everything deep. We're all over that ball. Give me the pick. Even if they would eventually score again, they weren't going to come back, and I can't wait to see what Jeremiah Marshall has in store for his senior year. Because we had so much success though, I am a little scared that one of our coordinators is going to get stolen from us, so I was a bit worried looking through staff moves, but it looks like nothing major happened, at least for us. Because real coaches are in the game, I don't ever pay much attention to them, and this conference championship winning team's only losing a couple really good starters like Tevin Turner that transferred in this left guard. I really don't know what happened to Jaleel Dwyer though. He must have gotten hurt as a junior, and then he never bounced back this year, but he was incredible his first 2 seasons with us. And sometimes when you get through years so quick, you just forget that certain players exist. With our recent success though, it looks like there's a lot of players that would want to transfer here. Of course, we need them to be 1 stars for it to be allowed, and I have 3 to choose between. I will always take these guys in just because I feel like their ceiling's a bit higher, and we're having to fight for some of these 1 stars. It looks like Nevada wants to steal this guard from us. There's only so much that I can do, so I just just have to advance, hope for the best. And there's Zach. He's committed to the team. Of the 3 transfers, he was the only one with impact development as well. And going into position changes, just looking at our offensive line and then our defensive line, it looks as good as it did a few years ago. So this is super, super exciting to see. Well, it's time for the most important period of them all, and position changes is going to have our team at an 80 overall with a 90 overall on the roster. That's insane. I know that without all the coordinator boost, he's probably only about an 86, but still, he is capped out at a very high overall. And even Jeremiah Marshall's impressing me. He's sitting at an 86. What's crazy is he still hasn't maxed out his accuracy either. There's one more skill cap he could increase to. And I think we've done a good job at wide receiver, so once these 2 seniors graduate, we're going to have a bunch of other young, fast guys that are going to fill in. I also have 16 coach points to spend, so I get to choose another position where skill cap no longer exists, and I think our offensive line is one that could really use that. As these players upgrade themselves now, there's a chance that they can unlock one of these skill caps to improve even more. And of course, the transfer that we brought in, Duke, still wants to transfer. He questions his loyalty every day. It's why he can't keep a girl, but looking at some of these freshmen, that class wasn't that impressive. And signing too many people wasn't smart because now I have to get rid of at least 7. This might actually be our best chance to make the playoffs too, so I've set this schedule as easy as I can. And even if we're not the highest overall team on paper, we should be able to beat most of those programs. When it comes to recruiting, from here on out, I'm just going to focus on replacing the exact positions that leave, so we're going to get 1 quarterback, 1 halfback, 2 wide receivers, etc. There's really nothing too exciting going on here, just a couple 89 speed wide receivers, a gym at halfback, and then this quarterback. But for the first time in a while, I couldn't find one that had some crazy stats. I'm just ready to play more games, and why did we schedule Eastern Michigan? They were supposed to be an easy win, and we did come out on top, but I was nervous to sim it. Now we're down here in week 4 at Boise State, where I really can't believe it, but we have made it to the top 25. I don't know what we did to deserve this, but Boise State's one of the better teams in the conference, so we have to make sure that we take them down on the road. I think this is the first time I've played on their field in college football 25. I'm curious to see what it looks like. And there's our team running out onto the blue field, but I haven't gotten a good shot of the stadium. I don't know why I thought we'd just walk in here and get an easy win. We've definitely been struggling, but we are able to burn them deep. And ever since I figured out that we could still do that with 90 speed receivers, I've felt a lot more confident. Now, I don't think it would work against bigger teams, but we do have our tight end open. And all I'll say is at one point we were down 21-0. I have worked to come back in this one, and this is the final play of the half, but I didn't want to kick a field goal, and that is a crazy way to go out. The fact that they've been able to do almost nothing since their insane start is kind of crazy to me. But at the same time, the more comfortable I get with this offense, the better I'm feeling. I mean, there are some plays where we don't get open still, but most of the time somebody is. And on 3rd and 20, I'm going back to torch that cover 3, which ended up working. I don't think you all understand how good it feels to be able to beat teams like this. I mean, our conference opponents should not be better than us, because by this point in a dynasty file, most of the small schools' corners are like 84 speed. But until I locked in and built out a receiving core that's actually fast enough to outrun players, and a cornerback room that's not going to get gashed off the line immediately, we were going to stand no chance against any Power 4 schools. Now, there's still some that worry me, like Georgia, where these overalls are crazy and they're also faster. But we got a long way to go before we're there, and we should probably play this one too. Just looking at our conference standings, both UNLV and New Mexico could still give us issues, and I just know for a fact that when I sim this entire period between the UNLV matchup and the New Mexico one, we're going to lose a game or two we shouldn't. That's why we have to beat the Runnin' Rebels again. But this one's not gone our way as much. With a couple minutes left, we do find ourselves trailing, so we gotta score. And we also need the 2-point conversion. I really don't like playing on the road. Hot routes have not worked all day. They did against Boise State because we were losing by so much, and that playmaker could have been great. But now we're stuck on a 4th and 10. I've been trying to put our outside receiver on a comeback route for the longest time, and I had no chance to get it out. That's what I've been dealing with all day. This has not been easy. And here on 2nd and 6, I'm trying to shoot the gap, but it looks like they're about to get a first down. We're going to have to knock this guy out of bounds. Come on, drag him out. That's going to give us the tiniest bit of life, and I'm not going to take it for granted. We can stop them. It's now 3rd and 17, where they simply just handed it off again. But they're punting it back to us with about 40 seconds left, and there's no way they just gave us that flag. I actually can't believe that bug's still in the game. Well, we have lost to UNLV, and that could severely affect how the rest of the season plays out. I'm just going to sim our next 5 matchups and hope for the best. They're all home games. We should be able to take care of business. But man, I am disappointed in myself for losing that last one. It hurts even more after seeing how the next 5 weeks went too, because if we didn't have that other loss, we'd be in such a good spot. Instead, at the moment, we might not even make our conference championship game, and we have to win out in order to do so. Our best player's also injured. He pulled his groin and he's out for 3 more weeks, so that's definitely not ideal. At least we're in a position where we're about to take a lead on New Mexico. But my offense that worked against Boise State hasn't been working against some of these other teams. I'm guessing they just had really slow defensive backs, and I can't seem to get them off the field right now either, which is why I'm not surprised that they finished that drive off with a touchdown, and now we're in a spot where we have to go down the field and score a touchdown ourselves if we want to get the win, but that's a big play. Jeremiah Marshall was so close to taking the sack there, and we still have our checkdowns. We have plenty of time to get into the end zone, and I'm almost scared if we did it too quickly, we'd give New Mexico a chance to respond. Defense just doesn't seem to exist in the final couple of minutes sometimes. I'm gonna step up, float this over the defenders, and get hit with the same flag that they always hit me with. This literally just can't be happening. I already choked that last game against UNLV, and I might as well take it in right now. It's not gonna matter though if they score in the next 27 seconds. I mean, we should have had a pick, and the fact that we didn't right there is a little bit ridiculous. I am so nervous. They still have 1 timeout left, and they're gonna go inbounds. We can tackle them, but the pressure's starting to kick in. Please do not get a touchdown. I literally don't trust our defense in this situation. I feel like we're gonna leave something open. This game's over if they complete a pass in bounds though, and why are they running an RPO? I couldn't even tell you what happened on that play, but they have 1 more shot to the end zone. We'll see if the computer actually does it, and please don't let them catch the ball. That is actually the worst thing I've ever seen, and I literally have no words. I am so frustrated. The season's done. I'm just simming to week 15. We have lost, and things just got worse after that matchup with 2 more losses to end the year. I'm very tempted to fire my defensive coordinator for how we gave up a touchdown on that last play, but I'm going to remain calm even though I felt like this was our best chance to make the playoffs. I have to keep in mind that even though there's a ton of great seniors on here, I've been building a roster on the back end with younger players that should be good in a couple of seasons, and if we're at the point in a dynasty file where Stanford's good again and Texas isn't because that's who we have to play in the Holiday Bowl, then we should be able to find our way into the playoffs at least once. I still can't believe how that last season went. I have never struggled this much in a rebuild, but that lets you know how hard this challenge is. And I really don't care whether or not we win this game. Of course, somehow we beat the Longhorns, but not teams in our conference. And it was by 11 points. What did Jeremiah Marshall do? He even had a turnover. I just didn't want him to go out this way. He ended up being the best quarterback that we've had so far. He also made our rushing attack come back. And he's taking 2 really good senior wide receivers with him when he leaves. It was never in the plans for him to start, but I'm so thankful that he did. And these 2 years won't be forgotten, but all we have left now is another 2 seasons. If we can't make the playoffs by then, I'll admit I've failed, but we should be able to even though we're losing our best left end. And why is this guard transferring out? Alex Dukes, you've wanted to leave forever and you're actually gone. I can't even say he's missing out. Things aren't looking good, but in the transfer portal, we're able to go after a load of different 1-stars. This is the first time I can go after this many. And this might be crazy, but I'm not even going to scout them. I'm offering them all scholarships. We need new players in the program, and I've had a lot of luck with getting better transfers than the players I can bring in as 1-stars. So I'm going to do my best to literally land every single one of them. I'm not messing up this opportunity. There's not much time left in the rebuild. And I ended up getting every single one. Just looking through their dev traits, that might not have been the smartest move in the world, but I'm still happy I did it. Because we've signed a class better than Toledo's, and I think it's the last time I'm going to recruit. We literally just need these 1-stars to develop a little bit farther and see whether or not they can actually go the distance. With these training results, I really think it is, but we still haven't gotten the lucky run that we need. And I might have messed up greatly with all those transfers because now our roster size is at 93. Going into this year, there's literally only 2 positions I'm going to recruit, and that's special teams because we're losing both our kicker and our punter. But outside of that, we've already gotten all the 1-stars that we want on our roster. Funny enough, as I was offering scholarships, we got an insta commit on the punter, and we found a gym at kicker. So pretty much everything that we needed to do is already handled, and I might just skip over this season unless we're doing really good by the time we get to the Boise State game. If we couldn't make the conference championship last year, we're not going to do it this year with all these juniors. We need them to have 1 more season of experience, and it's finally time for 5'9" Marco Pettigrew to see what he can do. My last step is just sending the house on Dylan Mixon so we can confirm that we'll land him, and I'll see you all on the other side where I really hope this goes well. Well, it looks like things started really well for us, but then we lost 3 straight. Maybe our quarterback got hurt, but he's not on the injury report, and I doubt this guard being injured is what caused all those losses. Like I thought, this season's just not going to go well. We're going to have 1 year left, and just like last season, we're going to finish as a pretty average team. The final conference standings look like this. We went 3-5 in Mountain West play again, and I really should fire at least our defensive coordinator, but I don't want to take that risk that we're not going to find somebody better. There are some positive takeaways going into next year that we can look at too. Marco Pettigrew threw for 26 touchdowns, only 5 turnovers, but our rushing attack was non-existent. I'm not sure what happened to it. Quan did not have a good season. Then when it comes to throwing the ball, David Chesley, our halfback, was one of our best receivers. Brandon Britt, we know that name, is number 1, and our bowl game's going to be against Oklahoma State. They're 6-6, and we beat Texas last year, so we should be able to take them down too. But more importantly, I have to check our dev trait of our gym kicker, and of course it's going to be impact, but I was just curious anyway. By this point, I'm so ready for our final season, and it looks like this year we did fall a little bit short in our bowl. Next year, we really need to be in that bracket. Jacksonville State's making it consistently, and we'll see what players are leaving. I can't remember exactly who's going. It's just seniors to graduation. Nobody wants to transfer out. That's a pretty big positive. We also have 20 coach points to spend, which means I can make sure that our linebackers or defensive line gets even better. I think we're going to go with linebacker. Between myself and then our offensive coordinator plus our defensive coordinator, we have a lot of ground covered, and I don't think I'm going to pursue anybody in the transfer portal, even if there are some 1-stars that would want to come here. I'm content with the roster I've built. These are the only 2 players that are going to be added to it, and there's zero shot that anybody has had a worse ranking class than this one right here. I'm actually going to make a couple last-second moves. Because David Chesley was our number 2 wide receiver last year, he's going to move over to the slot, and it's going to be either natty or bust with a roster coming in at an 83 overall. That's actually the best we've had by far. Now, the reason it's probably being calculated higher, even though I feel like it's very similar to some of the ones we had about 4 or 5 years ago, is there's a lot less low overall players here at the bottom because I didn't recruit almost any freshmen, and that factors into your overall, but that could help us a lot in sim, especially if I can encourage some of the lower overall players to transfer. It's really addicting to see that number continue to rise, even if it doesn't mean much, because at the end of the day, all that really matters is what the results are in these games that we have full control of. The schedule is looking weaker than ever, but they still don't think that we're going to do that well in conference play, and that's why I'm going to switch up the playbook one final time back to the multiple offense, which caused us to have some really good sim results. I'd also like to cover this team of 1-stars since this is our final ride. Whether or not we make the playoffs, whether or not we win it all, this is the final season. I was curious whether or not it was possible to win a championship with 1-stars. I'm hoping that Marco Pettigrew can get us there. He still has room for improvement in certain spots like his quickness, and Road Dog's actually a pretty important ability for having increased composure gains on the road. I've not used him yet, so I'm excited for that. Then at running back, we have Quan Vanover, the 1-star I've recruited a couple of years ago. Don't know much about him, but I do know about these wide receivers. Brandon Britt caught the game-winning touchdown for us as a freshman. Now the 1-star's a senior. And we also have 92 speed Alan McCourt, and then David Chesley, the kid that was at running back that we moved over because he played so well in the slot for us last year. Then at tight end, we have impact dev Gabriel Kiki. He filled up all of his skill caps, but his overall never got that high. And our entire offensive and defensive line looks good. It always has later in these rebuilds. They seem to develop through very well. And the same could be said for our linebacking core. High overalls once again. At corner, we've even gotten some speed finally. And then to wrap it all up, we got our free safety, our strong safety, and then our 50 overall kicker with a 53 overall punter. That could be bringing down some of our overall too, but I've set us up as best as I can, and I'm going to wait until tomorrow to play this final season. The time has come. I got my jersey on, and I am ready to see how far I can take this 1-star team. Now, my plan is pretty simple. I'm going to get through these first 2 games by simulating, then hop into the one against Nevada, because they're normally pretty good, but I'm still nervous simming. There's always the chance of an upset, but David Chesley was incredible, and it's time to get on to week 3 against the Zips. Not only have they lost 2 games, but they're also 75 overall, and things are still looking very good. We beat them 24-7. Our defense is playing well, but Marco Pettigrew's turning it over a lot. That is a little concerning, but we'll see if he does any better whenever I'm controlling him. If I had to be honest, I'd say probably not. I like to turn the ball over a ton. But as we get closer to the end of the 3rd quarter, we have a lead over the Wolfpack, and we also have the ball trying to get down the field. I have high hopes for this team at the moment. We seem to be doing pretty well just when it comes to moving it. And it looks like on this next play, if I'm patient enough, I could have that crossing route, but it was underthrown. I've been aggressive all day though, which is why we're going for it on 4th and 1. And they are not making it easy to get more points at the moment. Another 4th down. This time around, our tight end is open. We just have to be smart. And that type of patience is the reason that we're winning happening in the first place. I've been trying to chew as much clock as I can ever since this quarter started. I'm also going to be patient on our running back. I wanted him to keep running his route because I'm almost positive he would have been gone for a touchdown. Now we have this little orbit play, one man to beat in space. And this has been the longest drive of the game, but it's also been the best one. Again, I have to be patient and then I'll take it in. Now we're up by 2 possessions with like 2 minutes left. And as long as they don't pick up this 4th and 7, it's completely over, which they don't. That's actually a really big win for us. I wasn't sure if we'd beat the Wolfpack. And Marco's been all right for us, but he's not the best that we've ever had. Now we've gotten to the point in our schedule where I am going to take a big risk. I feel like we can sim through these 5 matchups. And I will probably regret this because I'm sure we're going to drop a game or two that we shouldn't, but I'm going to probably pause it midway as well. I want to feel like this team can win in both sim and whenever I'm actually playing with them. It looks like we have a player of the week. That is a good sign. And we're sitting at 7-0. This is the best season we've ever had. I thought for sure we'd drop at least one to like Navy or San Diego State on the road, but we just never lost. And just looking at our conference standings, I'm shocked that Wyoming's actually above us. We might as well go back to sim and it's working out really well. And Army couldn't take us down either. It was a 5-point game, so it was kind of close, but we're left with 4 games left on our schedule now, and 2 of them are on the road. I think we have to play this one. Fresno State might still beat us. And I don't get how 8-2 Wyoming's ranked, but we're undefeated and we're not. This season's going so much better than all the other ones, I don't even know how to feel. Because on one hand, I'm really happy about it. We're having a lot of success, but on the other hand, I know that we're due to fall off eventually. And if we do, it's probably going to be my fault, which means I'm going to have to take the blame for playing bad, like throwing an interception there when I really shouldn't have. They're also juking us out. So I'm just thankful that as this game goes on, we're able to stay in it. On a 4th and 4 in the 4th quarter, I really thought they were going to go for it instead of taking their 3. But their kicker's clearly pretty good, and we're going to hit that all day. We haven't been beating anybody deep in this game like we were last night, but we're able to run for a little bit. And with our top end speed on a receiver being 92, there's just only so much we can try, but I am going to give it one more shot, and we actually got him. Sometimes you just have to put it on the platter. Now on 3rd and long, we're going to get the sack against them. And their quarterback's wearing number 20. That's such an odd number for a quarterback, but we better not give that up. All it's going to take is picking up a 3rd and 14 to seal it. They decided to go with some interesting coverage that I thought we were going to beat deep, but instead we've been trying to get a stop once again, and our holding call has really hurt them on this drive, but they're about to make it a 4th and manageable. I'm not happy about that. I also hate our coverage here. I somehow got manned up to this guy that I left wide open. And if they're going to score on this drive, we almost need them to get in sooner rather than later. It's only going to hurt us if they take a lot of time off the clock before they do, and it's a bad pass. So here we go. It's now 3rd and 4, and their quarterback was going to run, but he ran backwards. That was the weirdest coverage I think I have ever seen. What are we doing though? We had a zone right there, just not play the ball. This is not great, but the out route gets us like 20. And you have to guard wide receiver Alan McCourt. He is the fast player on the team with 92 speed. I wish we could get more on this play, but our players aren't moving laterally very quick. This is man-to-man coverage. I'm afraid I'm about to take a sack. Come on, Pettigrew, keep on scrambling. We're in field goal range. Just don't fumble it away. I have panicked. I have hurried it up with 17 seconds left on the clock. Come on. We have a 50 overall kicker. I just remembered that. We are not in field goal range yet. I don't care what it says. Dylan Mixon is probably not going to hit from here. And even if he technically can, that all comes down to whether or not I can drill the kick, so we need to have a huge gain like this one. Now we're going to make sure it's centered because I don't trust myself. I'll take the touchdown too. And what a stressful ending to that one against Fresno State, but at the end of the day, we're undefeated still, and we better be ranked inside the top 25. I just don't think the game takes us seriously with our championship contender at 60, and I'm kind of scared to sim these next 2 games before we'd want to hop into the one against Wyoming. At the moment, I don't think we're a playoff team unless we can go undefeated, but I did all that I could, and we still haven't gotten that one loss. We're going into this one at 10-0. 20-13, that's actually kind of close. I'm going to hop into the one against Colorado State, because if Marco Pettigrew threw one more interception, we would have lost. We're still not in the top 25, but Wyoming is with their 2 losses, and at least we just snuck into the coaches poll for the first time, but there's a lot of other small schools we'd have to pass up to make the playoffs too. With this being a rivalry, being on the road, and the Rams being an 85 overall, I can't risk simming it. So it is time to see how this one plays out, and it's going to be a packed house. Well, with a couple minutes left, we're up by 7 points, but we have to get a defensive stop against them, and of course they're going to get free. That's a touchdown. They just put the pressure on us to respond back with a couple minutes left, but then they come out pressing, and we all know we have a 92 speed wide receiver. I'm not sure why they're pressing McCourt, but keep on going, buddy. and I don't know if I want to take this to the house or not. We're going to have to get another stop. It's like the whole game, nobody can seem to get points, but then whenever it counts, we just can't hold them except we get the interception. And that is such a huge play. I thought they were about to have another big one themselves. We just need to burn through their 3 timeouts. The jet touch pass is going to allow us to have another big one. And I hopped into this for the right reason. I knew we had to take care of business. The refs are trying to keep Colorado State in it though, because they've made it a 1st and 20 and we might have to try to throw the ball instead of run. We'll see how far we can get with this play. I was told that the jet touch pass was nerfed, but I am not sure how much it has been. But it probably was. The pursuit angles look a lot better, and unless we can somehow run for a 1st down on 3rd down, we're punting it. We're about to find out how far a 1-star punter can get this football. I put backspin on it, but that was kind of dumb because it didn't even come close to the end zone. Now we have to make a tackle. Oh my gosh, I've missed. I've missed again. Please, somebody, just knock him down. I'd also say I've liked to learn to run man-to-man coverage, as that is going to work on this one. But we still need to make sure that they don't get a Hail Mary off, and I'm trying to get in with Chosen. They're double teaming me, so they're going to have a chance to 50-50 this. Come on, just swat it down. Come on. Rivalry games are always so stressful. We have won another one though, and I just hope that Alan McCourt's gotten us into the top 25. It's about time. We're number 22 though. Wyoming's number 15 with their 2 losses. And just looking at these rankings, they are a lot better than they have been in previous builds after that patch, but I wish I was able to get more respect. We're having to work our way all the way up. Of course, none of this matters if we can't beat Wyoming at home. And then we have to win the conference championship too, but it looks like it's going to be a night game. They've already scored a touchdown, so now we have to do the same. Our running back goes down at the 3, and this is a very interesting RPO. I feel like I'm probably going to make the wrong read on it, which I did. 3rd down now. We know that this route's going to run underneath, and I was hoping that the defense wouldn't pick up on it, but because they did, we're going with the quarterback sneak on 4th down, and we got it. It is so crucial that we don't allow them to pull away too quickly, because throughout this first half, they've scored on every single drive, and I just hit the wrong button. You can already tell that we're about to have a long day, but not all hope is lost yet. We got to stop, and then we've gotten the ball back where that throw just got out in time. So there we go. Maybe that's the start of us getting more points before the half, but these holding penalties on the halfback screens are hurting us. I feel like they happen all the time. I am using 1-stars, so that's a part of the problem. Their awareness just isn't good, but it makes it even harder to win, and they larked me. I mean, he was just standing there waiting for the pick. Ever since that moment, I've felt like we've been out of this game, even if we're not. I mean, with 4 minutes left, we're about to get a huge play to Chesley. He's burnt number 1, and we're only down by a possession, but it just feels out of reach to come out on top still, and the jet touch pass is going to be stopped short. Anytime we get them to a 3rd down, we really need stuff to go our way, and I was right there to pick that ball, but they didn't give it to me, and you can see that I ran punt safe, man. I was not risking anything going wrong, but we knocked somebody over. What on earth are you doing? That better not cost us the game. They can accept it for an illegal block in the back. There's no way. Okay, we're still fine. We get to keep possession of it. I thought we did, but for a second, I thought they were getting it back. I was very confused there. And now if we just score a touchdown, we're going to win this one, so we have to handle this smartly. We're going to probably go back to our running back a lot, but we didn't even have a chance to there with the blocking being that bad, and we've burnt them over on that right side. I saw it, but now we have to get a stop again. This is a really hard position to be in because, of course, we have to take the touchdown, but they're most likely just going to march down the field, and please get the sack. That was actually so big. Now it's 3rd down. They missed the throw, making it 4th and 25. All we have to do is make sure they don't pick this up, and we're not going to let that happen. What a comeback. That's probably been one of my best ones since starting to play this game. We're doing well, and I'm so excited. We've gotten a team of 1-stars to stay undefeated. We still have to make the conference championship game and then hope that we get put into the college football playoffs, though. Right now, we're not ranked in the top 12, and I have to give some props to the Big Ten. Of the top 13 teams, the conference has 7 of them, so we should have a chance to be one of the top 5 highest rated conference champions. And I have 2 issues with this. 1, we have to play Wyoming again, and number 2, we just beat them, but they're ranked higher. We literally finished with the better conference record and 3 less losses. But to be fair to the committee, our schedule was really weak. Besides beating number 14 Nevada, I can't believe they're ranked that high. They're ranked above us too. I guess they know it's been a miracle run for us. We're only averaging 26 points per game, but we're an 85 overall. And it just hit me that how many 4 and 5 stars you have on your roster contributes to your championship contender rating. I'll touch more on that if we miss or make the playoffs, but at the moment we're projected to make it. And we just need to be one of the 5 highest rated conference champions, but there are some others that are going to be pretty close to us too. We're either going to win this game and get into the playoffs or miss them completely. And approaching the end of the 3rd quarter, it is all tied up at 24, so this isn't going to be simple. We knew what we were getting into facing Wyoming, but we've dominated this game, so the fact that it's close is all my fault. Let's just say I've had a couple turnovers that I'm not too proud of, but we could still win. again. And we're just going to have to lock in on 3rd and 6. It's man-to-man coverage, but our running back's getting open. He is quicker than that linebacker, which is a mismatch we can take advantage of. And there's not many of those mismatches with a bunch of 1-stars out there, let me tell you. Our offensive line seems to lose a ton of defensive battles, but we're going to have the curl. And this is such a huge play right here, 3rd and 2. I don't want to settle for a field goal. If you think I'm actually kicking this on 4th and inches, you're out of your mind. Because instead, I let the 2-minute warning hit, and now the fullback dive gets us 6. Now we just need to get an interception or something. That would be so clutch, but they're stepping up and running. And they've had a pretty long drive down the field. I just want to get them off of it. With all 3 of their timeouts now gone, every time we stop them inbounds, it's a huge deal, but they had a touchdown on this play and just make the tackle. They're going to have to spike the ball, which is going to waste a down. And running cover 4 against the computer seems to be so much better than running cover 3, but they almost had something. All right, here we go. It's 4th and 6, and we are not going to get in time. So Wyoming just scored with almost no time remaining. I'm actually sick. Their quarterback just turned into Tom Brady. And even though wear and tear's off, you can see the red circles and stuff around all our players, so it's still bugged. Anyway, we'll see what happens on this final play. If I could get enough time in the pocket, we might have had a chance. But it didn't work out. We have 2 seconds left, and they pressed our 92 speed wide receiver a little bit. I mean, they brought him down. Why would you bring him down? Keep on going, McCourt. Keep on going. I have no words. I actually have no words. I thought we were going to overtime for sure. What are they doing defensively? The computer is not the smartest, but I feel like having Alan McCourt, the 92 speed wide receiver that I spent so long scouting for, is one of the only reasons that we're making the college football playoffs. If we get snubbed now, I would lose my mind. Marco Pettigrew won Player of the Week, and our OC won the Coordinator of the Year award. We didn't have the Heisman. That was NC State that did, but that's because Marco had a lot of interceptions and not as many touchdowns. Then our rushing attack was just non-existent. We had an air raid offense, but receiving wise, David Chesley at wide receiver was the right move. Also, Alan McCourt had a good year, so that's all great. And because we're in the top 12, we've guaranteed ourselves a playoff spot. We also got a first round bye because Texas Tech with 3 losses was ranked right below us. And I think our ranking's been weighed down a lot because of this championship contender thing. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with it. And Bud Elliott's blue chip ratio, we're going to have 0% on. Because every player on this roster is a 1-star, we have the worst ratio of any team, and we also play in the Mountain West, so we're lucky we got in the first place. And our first opponent's Texas Tech. I assume Florida would beat them. They won by 11 though, and we're kind of lucky because we're the 2 lowest ranked teams remaining. We're actually slightly better than them too. We could win this game. And I hope this is the start of what's a super deep playoff run. I want to take the Falcons all the way. Either way, this is going to be the final season of the rebuild just because it's already my longest one yet. But if we fail and we get enough likes on the video, I'd probably be open to doing it again. It might take multiple attempts, but at the moment, it's all based on how good I am. If I can come out and play perfectly, we would beat them. So the real issue by now might be me because on our first drive, we didn't get any points and this one just got stopped. I also know that we're not going to hold them very much defensively, so we're going for it on 4th and 9. Our running back's open again. And I already consider this rebuild a success with a championship or not, but it would be amazing if we could go out and beat the Red Raiders at least. They're scoring a lot though. That is the main issue. We have to figure out how we're going to get them off the field. And a holding penalty might be the reason that this drive stalls out. I don't know what to do. I've also fumbled it away. Oh my gosh, we're going down 21-7. We cannot go out like this. We've competed for an entire rebuild. Now we're going to just pick up the 4th and 7. And they keep getting us in these 3rd and long situations. That's been the hardest part of this entire game. We have to keep going for them though. We aren't able to get very many stops, and I think we have the touchdown right here, assuming that we just run under it. And by the 3rd quarter, it's starting to feel a lot more winnable. We've been able to hold them, and we have to get a pick here. Come on, give me that all day. I was a little nervous at first. It took us a second to adjust, but now we can step up, hit our 92 speed wide receiver that they thought they could press, and take the lead. I don't care how difficult it's been. I just can't give up on these 1-stars. And what are we doing tackling wise? Come on, boys. Somebody knock him down or miss. Great. They're about to score a touchdown. They've put the pressure back on us, but we've been in this situation so many times throughout this rebuild, and we're not going to outrun this player, or maybe we will. I might be underestimating this roster right now just because I'm used to using like 98 speed wide receivers, but things were working pretty well until we got this holding penalty. Now we're in a tough position on 3rd and 11, and I was going to go for the out route the entire time, but that ball was dropped, putting us in an even worse position because they're going to get it back again and probably score too. I can't believe our best receiver just did that to us, but it's just how things work out sometimes. And come on, we're hitting them in the backfield. All right, 3rd down. We just can't give up a touchdown. I feel like our coverage is really good. We just need to generate some pressure, and we did. Well, the season's not over yet. We can win ourselves with a touchdown. And this drive is going to start with them running some man-to-man coverage, or maybe it was a zone. I really couldn't tell. There's just one guy that I'm going to be staring down because I trust him to get by these Big 12 corners. And Marco might have just sold us right there, but it's okay. We're going to go back to McCourt and get like 20 more yards. This is going to be the final play until the 2-minute warning. You can tell I'm running out as much clock as I can, but I might regret that if they're able to stop us. I did not think that last play was going to cause us to lose 6 yards. Now it is 3rd and 11. I accidentally left on chew clock again. This is definitely the final drive, and we just fumbled it. No. Oh my gosh, all of our effort might just go to waste. We just fumbled it away. And I'm going to run commit. I'm going to press. I'm going to do everything I can to get this back again. I'm literally at a loss for words right now. I can't believe we just did that. And I don't know if they're going to hand this off on 3rd and 8 or what, but they did, and we just have to get over there. Come on. This is it right here. We have a minute left on the clock. We don't have the speed to get around this guy, of course. We just need to go out of bounds. And with no timeouts left, it's probably best to try and attack the sidelines, but sometimes you have to take the seam. I feel like everybody's dropping the ball now, though. We really needed that to work out for us, and they've boxed up the crossing route that's still going to get free. Come on, get out of bounds. I have to make some blind reads. It's just how this channel works, though. We should not throw that. It's out of reach. The season's over. That's going to do it for the 1-star rebuild. And this is the saddest way it could have ended. We were set up to have a really good run. We just didn't come out on top. And out of curiosity, I just had to compare the Texas Tech roster to ours since it said the overalls were very similar, which made me not feel as bad about losing. They clearly had a huge edge over us. At the end of the day, it stinks to not be successful in a rebuild, but I also think for only using 1-star prospects, this is about as good as it's gonna get. My coach record in my time here was 88-80 with 7 winning seasons and also 3 conference championships, so I feel like I did really well. But this was a brutal challenge, so I don't know if I ever want to start it again. If we hit 10,000 likes on this video, I will give it another go until we win a championship. And if you have any advice that might help me if I have to attempt it again, make sure to leave it in the comments because I'd love to hear it.